Georgia is home to winding rivers, dense forests, and bridges that span waters flowing quietly for centuries. By day, these bridges appear ordinary, silent witnesses to cars, pedestrians, and occasional travelers. By night, they change. Shadows move where no one should be. Whispers float on the wind, carrying names of those who vanished. Some who cross these bridges are never seen again. Others return, pale and silent, unable to explain what they witnessed. Fog rises from the rivers, curling around railings and piers. Water reflects not only the moonlight, but shapes that should not exist. Tonight, we explore 25 haunted river bridges in Georgia, places where the river keeps secrets, shadows watch, and people disappear without a trace. The bridges remember every traveler, and some will not let you leave. Hello, my friend. I hope you are safe tonight, because we are about to cross into Georgia's darkest waters, where bridges are more than simple structurisa. They are gateways to the unknown. These river bridges were once ordinary crossings for towns and travelers. Now they are haunted, cursed, and feared. Visitors have reported sudden chills, ghostly figures appearing in mist, and strange lights hovering over water. Some bridges carry the echoes of people who vanished decades ago. Others are the site of tragic accidents that never left the air. Before we begin exploring, I have a question for you. If you were standing alone on a fog-covered bridge at midnight, and you heard whispers coming from the river below calling your name, would you step forward to investigate? Or would you turn away, knowing the river may not let you leave? Think carefully. May your courage guide you tonight, and may the haunted rivers show you only the shadows you are ready to face. Shadow Creek Bridge stretches across a narrow creek, its wooden planks worn smooth by years of rain, snow, and countless footsteps. The bridge itself appears unassuming at first glance, a simple structure connecting one side of the forest to the other. Yet those who venture across quickly realize that there is something different about this place, a presence that lingers in the mist and shadows, a feeling that the bridge is far from empty. Visitors have described a thick fog that seems to rise from the creek without warning, curling around the posts and railings, masking the water below. Within this mist, shadowy figures often appear, standing motionless in the center of the bridge or along the banks. When approached, they vanish as if swallowed by the fog itself, leaving no trace behind. The sight is fleeting, yet unforgettable, an image that etches itself into memory, a reminder that the bridge belongs to something beyond the living. Even when the bridge seems quiet, the sound of footsteps echoes unexpectedly. Visitors often hear planks creak beneath unseen weight, a rhythm that follows them as they cross. Sometimes the steps fall just behind, matching their own pace, creating a sense of being accompanied, though no one is there. The wooden surface seems to remember every footstep ever taken, amplifying the sensation that the past continues to move alongside the present. The surrounding forest adds to the Bridgia's eerie atmosphere. Tall trees arch overhead, their branches interweaving to form a canopy. Leaves rustle with no discernible breeze, and shadows twist in ways that seem unnatural. The creek below reflects distorted images of the bridge and the mist, sometimes revealing shapes that vanish the moment the eye focuses on them. Time itself feels altered here, as though stepping onto the bridge is stepping into a place where normal rules do not apply. Those who linger near Shadow Creek Bridge often speak of sudden chills and a weight on their shoulders, sensations that are physical and yet impossible to explain. The air grows heavy with expectation, the silence punctuated by distant, unidentifiable sounds. Some describe faint whispers carried across the water, a language unknown, a call that seems to echo the names of those who dare to walk the bridge. Every sound is magnified, every shadow intensified, until the simplest crossing becomes an experience that engages all senses. Local legend adds to the bridge's mystique. Stories circulate of travelers who vanish while crossing, leaving only the echoes of their footsteps in the mist. Others claim that the bridge is a boundary between the world of the living and another realm, a place where memories linger and the unseen move freely. People report that those who pass the bridge at dusk feel eyes upon them, fleeting glimpses of figures in the periphery. Always watching, never interacting directly. The wooden planks themselves carry the weight of history. Each creak, each groan, seems deliberate, almost sentient. Guests have noted that furniture, belongings, or backpacks left unattended on the bridge sometimes shift overnight, move slightly as if guided by invisible hands. Even the water beneath reflects moments that never truly occurred, shapes and ripples forming patterns that suggest movement, a subtle reminder that the bridge is alive in ways that defy explanation. Crossing Shadow Creek Bridge is an experience that lingers long after one has left. The forest beyond and the creek beneath become part of the memory, their atmosphere imprinted on the mind. Travelers speak of being unable to shake the sense of being observed, of shadows that persist at the edge of vision, of footsteps echoing in their imagination long after the actual crossing. The bridge is more than a simple structure. It is a place where the boundary between the natural and the supernatural blurs, where every visitor is invited to witness the subtle presence that refuses to be ignored. Despite the unease, there is a haunting beauty to the bridge. The mist drifts across the water in soft swirls. The sunlight filters through the canopy in fragmented beams, and the shadows play endlessly across the planks. Visitors leave with a mix of awe and apprehension, drawn to return even as the memory of fear remains. Shadow Creek Bridge captures the imagination, a site where the visible and invisible coexist, a place that reminds us that the world holds corners still unexplored, where stories unfold without words, and where the past continues to walk beside us. Shadow Creek Bridge remains a silent witness to countless crossings. The shadows appear and fade. The creek flows beneath, carrying echoes of footsteps that may never have been there. Every visitor senses the same truth. This is a place where the unseen moves freely, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where the simple act of walking across a bridge can transform into an encounter with the unknown. Where the unseen moves freely, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where the simple act of walking across a bridge can transform into an encounter with the unknown. The haunting presence is constant, subtle, and unforgettable, ensuring that Shadow Creek Bridge will remain a site of mystery and fascination for all who dare to approach. Subtle and unforgettable, ensuring that Shadow Creek Bridge will remain a site of mystery and fascination for all who dare to approach. A site of mystery and fascination for all who dare to approach. For all who dare to approach. Shadow Creek Bridge will remain a site of mystery and fascination for all who dare to approach. A site of mystery and fascination for all who dare to approach. For all who dare to approach. This is a place where the unseen moves freely, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where the simple act of walking across a bridge can transform into an encounter with the unknown. Where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where the simple act of walking across a bridge can transform into an encounter with the unknown. And where the simple act of walking across a bridge can transform into an encounter with the unknown. This is a place where the unseen moves freely, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where the simple act of walking across a bridge can transform into an encounter with the unknown. Fog Hollow Bridge stretches across the river like a dark ribbon, its edges lost to the thick mist that rises each night. The wooden planks creak beneath the weight of footsteps, though often no one else is there. The fog hangs low, swallowing shapes and sounds, turning the world beyond the bridge into an indistinct shadow. Visitors who approach after dusk speak of an immediate change in the air. The temperature drops, and the scent of damp earth mingles with something more elusive, something almost metallic. A soft rustling of leaves can be heard over the gentle lapping of water below, but it is never quite natural. Shapes move just beyond vision, slipping between trees and shadows, never fully revealing themselves. Figures appear within the mist. They are vague at first, like shapes drawn from smoke, but some have claimed to see details, faces blurred and distorted, watching silently as they walk. These figures whisper names, calling out in voices that seem to come from all directions at once. Those who hear the whispers often describe a compulsion to respond, to turn and follow, yet the fog remains impenetrable, resisting every attempt to see or understand fully. The bridge itself feels older than anyone can remember. The wood has darkened with age and rain, the nails rusted with time. Some boards are cracked, threatening underfoot, yet the bridge endures, as though held by something other than human hands. Beneath, the river flows steadily, reflecting the dim moonlight and the shifting shadows above. At night, the water seems deeper, darker, alive with unseen movements. Some who cross Fog Hollow Bridge report losing time entirely. They step onto the bridge and awaken on the riverbank, heart racing, with no memory of the middle. The experience is described as disorienting, a sensation of being carried or watched, of moving through a space that exists between worlds. Few speak of it freely, and those who do often struggle to explain what they saw or felt. The fog thickens as one continues across the bridge, sometimes so dense that the end is invisible. Sounds are muffled, footsteps echoing faintly, though it is impossible to tell if they are your own or another's. Occasionally, a figure will appear directly in front of a walker, vanishing the instant it is approached. The effect is disorienting, leaving the mind questioning what is real and what is imagined. Those who linger at the riverbank describe an uneasy stillness. The fog does not merely drift, it seems to breathe, rising and falling with a rhythm. Reflections in the water can show fleeting shapes, elongated and shifting, never fully formed. Some claim to glimpse their own reflection twisted, altered in a way that feels like a warning rather than a trick of the water. Legends of the bridge are whispered in nearby towns. Stories pass from generation to generation. Travelers recount seeing shadows that appear to walk on water, figures in tattered clothing calling out for help, or shapes that seem to vanish into the river itself. Though these accounts vary, the common thread is the same. The bridge is a place where reality thins, and the ordinary rules of time and space no longer apply. Those brave enough to cross often describe a sense of being observed from the riverbanks and the trees. Every movement is mirrored by shadows, every sound followed by an echo that seems too deliberate to be coincidental. The fog amplifies the senses, heightening fear, also creating a strange allure. It is a place that draws the curious, the brave, and sometimes the unsuspecting, into a world where the line between the living and the unseen blurs. Even the physical structure of the bridge seems to react to its visitors. Some describe sudden tremors beneath their feet, the planks groaning as if under immense strain. Yet, when they look, there is no sign of instability. Others feel a chill brush against their skin, though no wind is present. The sensations are fleeting but undeniable, leaving those who cross with an indelible impression of the bridge as something more than wood and nails. The river itself is part of the mystery. It reflects not only moonlight but fragments of fog above, creating the illusion of endless depth. Some report seeing shapes moving beneath the surface, darting out of sight when approached. The water carries the sound of the world above it, but warped and slowed, like echoes from another time. Even the simplest splash or ripple becomes an element of the bridge's haunting symphony. Fog Hollow Bridge is not dangerous in the conventional sense, yet it commands respect. Every step taken across it feels measured, every breath drawn more conscious. The fog conceals and reveals, the shadows follow, and the river listens. Those who leave often do so with an understanding that the bridge is not merely a crossing, but a place where the past lingers, where names are remembered, and where the fog carries stories that refuse to fade. Walking away from the bridge, the fog slowly dissipates, retreating back toward the river as if reluctant to release its hold. The air warms again, the sound of the forest return to normal, and the world feels solid once more. Yet the memory of the mist, the whispers, and the shapes within it remain etched into the mind. Visitors leave changed, carrying with them the quiet knowledge that Fog Hollow Bridge is a place where the unseen walks among the living, and where the river guards its secrets with unwavering patience. The river stretches silently through the landscape, dark and slow, its surface reflecting the muted glow of moonlight. Beneath the calm exterior, the waters seem to conceal a world of movement and presence that is impossible to explain. Locals speak of shapes gliding just below the surface, forms that move with purpose yet vanish when observed directly. The river appears ordinary at first glance, but those who linger near its banks report a subtle unease, a sensation that the water is watching, aware of every step along its edge. Shadows shift along the current, only to disappear into the depths when faced head-on. Even the most experienced explorers describe moments when the river seems. Hands, dark and fleeting, appear just beneath the surface, rising toward anyone who dares to come too close. There is no violence, only a compelling force that demands attention, as if the river itself is testing the courage of those who walk along its banks. The crossing is framed by dense trees and fog that hangs low over the water, thickening the atmosphere and muffling the sounds of the surrounding world. The rustle of leaves and distant calls of nocturnal creatures blend with the soft lap of water against the shoreline, creating an almost hypnotic rhythm. Within this rhythm, the unusual occurrences go unnoticed by the untrained eye, but those attuned to the environment sense the subtle anomalies of the ripples that defy wind, shadows that linger too long, and a weight in the air that feels almost sentient. Some visitors report seeing figures moving along the riverbed, glimpsed through the murky water. They are faint, indistinct, yet undeniably present. Their movements are slow and deliberate, suggesting intelligence and awareness, a presence that is both patient and persistent. The river has a way of holding its secrets, revealing them only to those who remain long enough to observe, to sense the pulse beneath the surface. The bridges that span Blackwater Crossing add another layer to its mystery. The wooden planks creak even in the absence of wind, and the shadows cast by the railing seem to shift unnaturally, stretching and twisting with a life of their own. Travelers crossing at night often feel a tugging sensation, subtle at first, then insistent, as though unseen fingers are brushing against them. The sensation is fleeting, yet enough to unsettle and provoke a wary respect for the river and its hidden depths. On foggy nights, the river transforms entirely. The water appears blacker, absorbing light rather than reflecting it. Shapes under the surface seem to move closer to shore, rising slightly before vanishing. Whispers travel across the water, carried by the wind, though no one speaks. Some say these sounds are echoes of travelers long gone, caught between the world above and the world beneath, their presence lingering in the currents of the river. Those who dare to venture in a boat find the experience equally unnerving. The oars cut through water that resists their movement more than natural drag would allow. Reflections on the surface are distorted, showing not just the sky and trees, but faint, indistinct forms beneath the hull, moving with the rhythm of the boat, yet independent from it. Even in the quietest moments, the river asserts itself, reminding explorers that it is alive with mysteries that are patient and enduring. During daylight, Blackwater Crossing is deceptive in its calm. The surface appears smooth, the water moving gently with a steady current. Yet anyone who peers into its depths can sense the shapes lurking below, waiting in silence. Sunlight penetrates the water unevenly, revealing glimpses of movement that vanish as soon as they are noticed. The river invites curiosity while maintaining a careful distance, a living puzzle that draws attention and then conceals it once again. Visitors often speak of a sense of time slipping while near the river. Hours can pass unnoticed, and the world beyond the bank seems distant and muted. The sounds, the shadows, the subtle interactions between water and presence create an immersive experience that feels separate from the ordinary flow of life. Blackwater Crossing holds its environment like a veil, revealing pieces only to those patient enough to observe, to move carefully, and to respect the unknown. The shadows, the sounds, the subtle interactions between water and presence create an immersive experience that feels separate from the ordinary flow of life. Blackwater Crossing holds its environment like a veil, revealing pieces only to those patient enough to observe, to move carefully, and to respect the unknown. Visitors often speak of a sense of time slipping while near the river. Some encounters leave a lasting impression. A hand may graze an ankle from beneath the water. The intimacy of these moments leaves a profound sense of connection. The river reminds every traveler that its depths are home to unseen watchers, and that crossing it is not simply a matter of distance, but an engagement with the mysteries it harbors. Blackwater Crossing endures as a place of fascination and trepidation. Its beauty is undeniable, its calm deceptive, and its secrets patient and enduring. Travelers leave with stories, fragments of encounters that linger in memory, shaping how they understand the natural and the unknown. The river beneath runs deep and slow, holding its mysteries tightly, inviting those with curiosity and courage to witness its enigmatic presence, and leaving each visitor to wonder what truly lies beneath the surface. Iron Pine Bridge stretches across a silent valley, its steel beams weathered by time and wind. Once a bustling crossing, it carried travelers and cargo, a lifeline connecting towns and communities. Today, the bridge stands deserted, its wooden planks creaking under the weight of the wind and the occasional wandering animal. Walking onto Iron Pine Bridge, the world outside seems to vanish. The fog dampens sound, leaving only the rhythmic tapping of footsteps on weathered wood. Railings, worn and rusted, offer a fragile sense of safety as the mist swirls around the legs of anyone daring to cross. The bridge exudes a quiet tension, as if it remembers every footstep, every cart that once passed across it, and holds the echoes of its history in the stillness of the air. Local travelers speak of figures walking alongside them, appearing suddenly in the fog. They move silently, neither hurrying nor slowing, their presence unsettling yet fleeting. When approached, they vanish, dissolving into swirling mist as if they were never there. Some describe them as wearing old-fashioned clothing, others as shadows with no form at all. The experiences are brief and inexplicable, leaving those who witness them with a mixture of awe and unease. The bridge itself is a study in contrast. Its iron beams, once polished and strong, are now mottled with rust, standing as monuments to a bygone era. Wooden planks sag in the center, some missing entirely, revealing glimpses of the river far below. The fog amplifies every sound and movement, making the bridge feel alive. A snapping twig or a sudden gust of wind can set the heart racing, and the unseen presence of others, real or imagined, lingers just beyond sight. At twilight, the bridge takes on an ethereal quality. The fog glows faintly with the last rays of the sun, turning the steel and wood into shadows and silhouettes. Shapes shift in the distance, sometimes resembling travelers from another time. The air is heavy with moisture and history, carrying the faint scent of river water and aged wood. Crossing the bridge at this hour feels like stepping into another world, one where the boundaries between past and present blur. Those who linger on Iron Pine Bridge describe a strange sensation of being watched. The fog seems to move with intent, forming corridors of visibility and concealment, leading the imagination into uncertain directions. Footsteps echo in impossible ways, sometimes coming from behind, sometimes from nowhere. The bridge seems to respond to the presence of those who walk it, a silent guardian and witness to every crossing. Stories of the bridge's past add layers to its present mystery. Once, it was a hub of life where merchants and travelers met, exchanged stories, and pressed onward to distant towns. Accidents and disappearances, long forgotten by history, are whispered in local lore, lending the bridge a reputation for being more than just an abandoned crossing. The fog, the figures, and the sounds that linger are seen by some as echoes of these events, trapped in a place where they once occurred. As night falls, Iron Pine Bridge becomes almost impenetrable. The fog thickens, reducing visibility to a few steps. The river below is a dark mirror, reflecting faint glimmers of moonlight through the mist. Every creak of timber and groan of metal seems amplified, as if the structure itself is alive and speaking in a language only the night can interpret. Those who dare to cross after dark often report a sensation of weight, a pressure in the air, and the feeling that the bridge is aware of their presence. Despite the eerie atmosphere, there's a fascination that draws people back. The bridge holds a beauty in its desolation, a reminder of a time when travel was slower, more deliberate, and fraught with uncertainty. Each crossing becomes an intimate encounter with history, with the mist and with the unexplained. The figures that appear and vanish are part of this experience, a subtle reminder that some places remember, Iron Pine Bridge is more than steel and wood. It is a living memory suspended above the river, a place where time seems to fold upon itself. The fog, the shadows, and the faint sounds all contribute to an atmosphere that is both unnerving and captivating. Visitors leave with stories, sensations, and questions that linger long after they have stepped off the bridge. In the end, Iron Pine Bridge is a destination for those who seek mystery and history entwined. It is a place where the natural world and the supernatural seem to intersect, where every crossing is an encounter with the unknown. The bridge challenges perception, invites curiosity, and leaves an indelible mark on those who walk its fog-shrouded span. It is a silent guardian of memory, a place where the past and present meet in a quiet, haunting harmony, and where the mist never fully lets go. Silent River span stretches across dark, flowing waters, an old bridge that seems ordinary at first glance. The wood is weathered and worn, and the railing sways slightly in the wind, yet those who cross it quickly realize that there is something unusual here. Visitors have reported cold drafts sweeping across the bridge, sudden chills that seem to rise from the waters below. The air carries a whispering quality, voices that speak softly yet clearly, calling names that some claim to recognize while others cannot place. These sounds are fleeting, drifting with the wind, leaving travelers with a lingering sense of unease, as though the river itself is aware of their presence. Some who linger near the edges of the bridge describe the sensation of being watched from beneath. Shadows seem to move just under the water's surface, reflections that do not match the surroundings. The river is dark and deep, yet those who look too closely feel eyes upon them, invisible observers following every step. This sensation persists even during daylight hours, a reminder that the span exists as more than just a passage from one shore to the other. Many visitors have felt invisible hands brush against their shoulders or arms, subtle touches that vanish as quickly as they appear. Some experience the weight of pressure on their back, the sense of being guided or restrained. Yet there is no one in sight. The sensations are brief but vivid, enough to startle and intrigue, creating an atmosphere where the natural and the supernatural blur together. The bridge itself seems to react to those who walk across it. The wooden planks groan and creak underfoot, not always in sync with the weight of the traveler. Some report that objects left on the bridge, from backpacks to loose branches, shift position overnight, as though nudged by unseen hands. Mirrors of puddled water along the span sometimes reflect shapes that vanish the moment attention is focused upon them. The surrounding forest enhances the eerie atmosphere. Trees rise tall along the banks, their branches intertwining to form dark corridors. Leaves rustle with no discernible breeze, and shadows twist unnaturally across the river and the bridge. The flowing water below reflects fragmented light in strange ways, revealing distorted forms, silhouettes, and movements that vanish before they can be fully understood. The river, the span, and the woods exist together as a continuous presence, enveloping all who venture near. Local lore has long spoken of the bridge as a place where the living and unseen intersect. Travelers speak of footsteps echoing along the boards, matched only by the sound of distant running water. Some claim to have glimpsed figures standing at the far end of the span, only to find empty space when approached. Whispers carry warnings or names, fleeting and indistinct, yet potent enough to make visitors quicken their pace. Fearful of being caught in the whisper's grasp. The bridge has a haunting beauty, despite the fear it inspires. Sunlight glints off the water in fragmented patterns, illuminating fleeting shapes that seem to move in and out of view. The atmosphere is charged, a delicate balance between allure and apprehension, drawing visitors who are both terrified and fascinated. Crossing Silent River Span is an experience that lingers long after one has left. Travelers often speak of the way the bridge feels alive, as if memories of those who walked before remain embedded in the wood and water. Steps are remembered, whispers preserved, touches remembered. The span is not merely a structure. It is a place where the past, present, and the unseen converge, where every crossing is a brush with something beyond ordinary understanding. The sensation of eyes watching, hands brushing, and whispers drifting in the wind becomes part of memory, echoing in dreams and moments of quiet reflection, a site where ordinary crossings transform into encounters with the unknown, ensuring that this place remains a haunting and unforgettable destination for all who dare to step upon it. The river and the bridge exist in perpetual tension, a space that seems suspended between worlds. Every creak of a plank, every ripple in the water, every shadow along the edge is a reminder that the span is not as empty as it appears. Visitors may cross with trepidation, yet they often return, drawn by the subtle pull of the unknown. Silent River Span continues to claim the attention of those who pass, a timeless witness to footsteps, whispers, and fleeting touches that linger long after the crossing has ended. This bridge, this river, and the mist that clings to them ensure that they have walked through a place alive with unseen presence, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where the whispers of the past continue to echo across the water, calling to all who are willing to listen. Crimson Arch Bridge rises above the river like a scar across the night sky. Its steel arches stretch high, casting shadows that blend with the darkness below. At dusk, the first hints of red-tinted light glimmer along the water, reflections that shimmer and twist as the river flows silently beneath. The bridge is empty for most of the day, a quiet passage connecting distant points. Yet, when night falls, an entirely different atmosphere emerges. The color clings to the mist that often gathers along the water, and in it, shapes begin to take form. Shadowy figures appear along the railings. They are vague at first, blurred like smoke in the night. But with each glance, the mind insists they are watching, waiting. Some travelers report feeling the sensation of being followed, a weight on their shoulders that cannot be explained. The figures vanish when approached, yet the awareness of their presence lingers. An invisible mark that cannot be shaken. The air above the bridge carries a strange stillness. Even the wind, when it blows, moves cautiously, as if careful not to disturb something older than memory. The steel arches creak in rhythm with the river below, echoing through the night, and the red glow dances across the surface in ways that seem deliberate, highlighting corners of the bridge that would otherwise go unnoticed. Those who venture onto Crimson Arch Bridge at night speak of sudden disorientation. Steps that should be certain become hesitant, as though the bridge itself shifts subtly beneath them. Time seems to stretch, elongated moments where the world around blurs. Travelers have disappeared entirely, vanishing without warning, leaving only abandoned shoes or scattered belongings behind. No one can explain where they go or why the bridge claims them. The water below mirrors the scene in fragmented, distorted ways. Occasionally, faint shapes appear within the water itself, dark and twisting with the current, vanishing when stared at directly. The reflections seem almost alive, as if the river were participating in some ritual older than anyone can recall. The railings themselves hold stories. Travelers describe feeling a cold touch when passing close, subtle and fleeting, enough to make the skin prickle. It is never threatening, yet the sensation is undeniable, an awareness that unseen presences linger just beyond perception. Some claim to hear whispers along the span of the bridge, faint voices carrying names, warnings, or fragments of conversations that cannot be understood. The red lights seem to respond to movement. They flare brighter when someone approaches, and dim when left alone. The effect is hypnotic, drawing the eye along the length of the bridge, inviting passage while simultaneously warning restraint. Crossing the bridge is not a casual act. It demands attention, an understanding that something unseen governs the space between its arches and the water below. Even the structure itself conveys a sense of age and endurance. Rust flecks the steel, and the concrete beneath bears the weight of countless crossings. Yet despite the decay, there is a precision to the bridge, as if each component exists in perfect harmony with the river and the night. It is both a crossing and a threshold, a place where the natural and the supernatural converge. The fog that often drifts along the river enhances the mystery. Figures appear within the mist, glimpses of movement that vanish when followed. The fog carries sounds differently, amplifying the echo of footsteps, the gentle hum of the river, and the soft, whispering voices that seem to circle travelers as they pass. Some who survive the crossing speak of a lingering unease long after leaving. The memory of shadowed figures, the red reflections on the water, and the sensation of unseen eyes following each step remain vivid. It is a reminder that Crimson Arc Bridge is more than a structure. It is a threshold, a place where the ordinary rules of perception no longer fully apply. Even the bravest who cross during the night do so with caution. Every step is measured, every breath deliberate, because the bridge demands awareness. One misstep is enough to invite the unknown closer, to become part of the stories that cling to the arches and rails. The river waits silently beneath, holding the secrets of those who have vanished, its surface calm yet deceptively deep. Crimson Arc Bridge is an enigma, a haunting fixture of the landscape. The shadowy figures, the whispers, and the river all combine to create an experience that defies explanation. It is a place of beauty and dread, of reflection and fear, where the line between what is real and what is imagined is blurred by the crimson light. Those who return to the bridge often do so with caution, wary of its allure yet compelled by curiosity. The red-tinted glow and the silent forms waiting along the railings continue to draw attention, ensuring that Crimson Arc Bridge remains a place of mystery. Each crossing carries the possibility of witnessing the unseen, feeling the unexplainable, and stepping closer to secrets that the river has guarded for generations. Mistwood Crossing lies hidden deep within a forest where the river winds silently through dense trees. Fog rolls over the water in thick blankets, obscuring the banks and softening the sounds of the world. The air is heavy and damp, carrying the scent of wet earth and fallen leaves. It is a place of quiet beauty, yet those who wander here speak of a lingering unease, as though the mist itself watches and waits. Travelers often speak of footsteps beside them, soft and deliberate, echoing in rhythm with their own movements. Yet when they turn, the path remains empty, the fog parting only to reveal the dark shapes of trees, and the river flowing silently. The sounds are unnerving in their precision, seeming to follow, anticipate, and mirror the steps of anyone walking through the crossing. Shadows move just beyond clear sight. From the corner of the eye, shapes appear in the mist, shifting and drifting in ways that defy explanation. They are fleeting, impossible to focus on directly, vanishing the moment attention is given. Some appear humanoid, others less defined, like smudges of darkness that cling to the fog. The river itself seems to respond to these presences, the surface rippling gently as though touched by invisible hands. The wooden bridge spanning the river creaks underfoot, each step amplified by the stillness around it. Fog curls around the railings and posts, forming patterns that are almost deliberate in their shape. Explorers describe an oppressive stillness here, broken only by the occasional sigh of wind through the trees or the faintest brushing of air against their skin. It feels as if the crossing is alive, aware of those who pass through it, measuring each movement and intention. Mistwood Crossing is at its most mysterious in the early hours before dawn. Reflections shimmer across the water, distorted and fleeting, revealing glimpses of forms that do not belong to the world above. Observers sometimes where they see figures pacing along the riverbank, their movements synchronized with the unseen rhythm of the fog. Boats that drift along the river encounter resistance that seems unnatural, or is cut through water that is heavier than it should be, while shadows beneath the surface shift as if stirred by life. The riverbed is obscured by the murk, yet movements are apparenta, ripples that start without wind, shapes that glide below the surface, always just out of reach of full understanding. The water holds its secrets tightly, revealing only what it chooses. Visitors report sensations of being watched, a pressure on the back of the neck, or a sudden chill that moves against the flow of air. At times, a whisper seems to trail behind, soft enough to be mistaken for the wind, yet deliberate in its timing. These experiences are never threatening, but they are intensely personal, leaving an impression of presence, of something just beyond comprehension. The trees along the crossing seem to shift as well. Branches move without wind, casting shadows that flicker across the fog. Light is filtered through the mist, creating shapes that appear solid until the viewer blinks or turns. Paths that seem straightforward can become confusing, loops and bends forming as though the forest itself is rearranging to obscure the way forward. Even during daylight, the crossing maintains a quiet tension. The fog thins but does not disappear entirely, lingering in hollows and over the water. Observers notice shapes moving in peripheral vision, shadows at the edges of reflections, and sudden disturbances in the water. The river flows steadily, yet the experience of being on its banks remains charged with anticipation, as if the environment remembers all who have passed before. Footpaths along the river are uneven and overgrown, yet the crossing has a strange draw. Travelers feel compelled to continue along the water, following the mist, seeking understanding of what lies beyond sight. Every step is measured, every glance cautious, for the environment has a way of challenging perception, turning the familiar into something ambiguous and alive. Encounters at Mistwood Crossing vary, but share a common essence. Figures in the fog, footsteps without source, subtle movements just out of sight, and whispers that brush the mind, all create a sense of intimacy with the unknown. It is a place that tests curiosity and patience, inviting those willing to observe, to feel, and to exist within its unique rhythm. The river bends and twists through the crossing, never revealing all at once. Shapes in the mist fade and reappear, guiding the imagination and senses into a state of alert awareness. Those who leave the crossing carry the memory of the fog, the whispers and the fleeting shapes, a quiet impression of a world that exists parallel to the one they know. Mistwood Crossing endures as a place of mystery and reflection. Its dense fog and the river that runs beneath offer more than beauty. They hold stories, presences, and phenomena that defy understanding. Every visitor leaves with questions and lingering sensations, drawn to the crossing by the allure of the unknown and the subtle promise of witnessing something beyond the ordinary. And the unexplained waits quietly for those willing to enter. The mist rolls endlessly. The river flows slow and deliberate, and the crossing remains, patient and waiting, a place where reality and perception meet. And the unexplained waits quietly for those willing to enter. Hollow Pines Bridge stretches across a quiet river, framed by towering trees that rise like sentinels on either side. Their branches twist and sway, casting long, shifting shadows that stretch across the wooden planks. The air carries a faint chill, as if the forest itself is breathing, and every footstep resonates through the stillness, echoing in the quiet like a heartbeat. The bridge has long been a crossing for travelers, yet it holds an unsettling stillness that can only be felt by those who step onto its worn boards. Guests often describe an uneasy sensation as they walk. From beneath the railings, the river flows silently, but some swear they hear whispers carried on the water. These sounds come and go, rising in clarity only to fade abruptly. The mind is left to wonder whether the whispers were ever real. The wood beneath each step is old and weathered, bearing the marks of countless crossings over the years. The bridge sways slightly in the wind, each motion amplified by the surrounding silence. Shadows dance along the rails, shifting in ways that do not match the movement of the trees. Travelers have reported fleeting figures at the far end of the bridge, standing motionless as if waiting. When approached, the figures vanish without a trace, leaving only the lingering sense of a presence that was never there. As dusk approaches, Hollow Pines Bridge transforms. The fading light softens the outlines of the trees, and the shadows deepen, merging with the mist that rises from a river. The fog moves like water itself, curling around railings and slipping beneath the planks. Shapes appear in the mist, some tall and thin, others difficult to define, lingering just beyond the edge of vision. The atmosphere is charged with a quiet tension, a feeling that the bridge exists as a threshold between the known and the unknown. Walking the length of the bridge at night is an experience both unsettling and mesmerizing. The darkness swallows familiar shapes, leaving only silhouettes and hints of movement. Every sound is amplified, from the creak of a board to the rustle of leaves overhead. Some who have crossed the bridge after sunset speak of whispers that circle around them, faint and distant, yet unmistakably near. The forest and the river seem to conspire in shaping the Minda-'s perception, creating moments that linger in memory long after the journey ends. Hollow Pines Bridge is not merely a physical structure. Travelers who vanished, voices heard in the dead of night, and figures glimpsed just beyond reach. Whether these tales are rooted in truth or the imagination, the bridge maintains an aura of mystery that draws the curious and the brave. Each crossing becomes an encounter with something larger, something unseen yet undeniably present. The bridge's surroundings enhance its eerie charm. The river flows silently beneath, reflecting the shadows of trees, and the faint glow of moonlight. Mist rises in slow waves, curling around the supports, drifting across the water's surface. The sounds of the forest, rustling leaves, snapping twigs, distant calls of nocturnal animals, blending with the whispers from the river, creating an atmosphere that is immersive and haunting. Every sense is heightened, every step measured, as the natural world and the unexplained converge on a narrow path. Figures seen on Hollow Pines Bridge are often described as fleeting and enigmatic. Some appear as travelers from another time, standing silently with a posture that suggests waiting or observing. Others take the form of shadows, moving with deliberate grace, vanishing when approached. These encounters leave a lasting impression, a reminder that the bridge is more than it seems. It is a place where perception is challenged, where the line between reality and imagination blurs, and where each crossing becomes a personal story written in silence and shadow. Visitors leave the bridge with a sense of reverence and unease. The whispers linger in memory, the shapes in the mist replay in the Minda-'s eye, and the cold touch of the evening air seems to follow them long after they have stepped onto solid ground. Hollow Pines Bridge is a living memory of the forest and the river, a space where nature and mystery coexist in delicate balance. It invites exploration and contemplation, and each crossing is an intimate journey into the unknown. In the end, Hollow Pines Bridge is more than a passage from one bank to another. It is a meeting place of shadows, whispers, and ancient trees. It is a reminder that some places hold stories that cannot be spoken aloud, and that the world retains corners where the unseen and the unexplained quietly endure. Walking across the bridge is to step into history, legend, and the subtle pull of mystery. A journey that lingers in thought long after the mist has cleared and the trees have fallen silent. Dead Man's Crossing stretches across a deep and narrow river, a bridge long known for its dark reputation. The wood is weathered, railings splintered, and the shadows that cling to its planks seem heavier than anywhere else. Travelers often report a feeling of being observed, a quiet pressure at the nape of the neck, as though unseen eyes follow each step across the span. Chills sweep across the bridge without warning, sudden and sharp, making the air feel impossibly cold. Lights appear and vanish, flickering along the posts and railings, leaving only darkness in their wake. Shadows twist and elongate unnaturally, moving along the sides of the bridge as if alive. Visitors speak of forms that appear for just a moment, only to dissolve into mist, leaving a lingering sense of unease that settles deep in the chest. The river beneath is wide, dark, and moving swiftly. Some claim to have seen figures standing on the bridge, spectral forms that shift and sway, then stumble over the edge, disappearing beneath the surface, as if claimed by the water itself. The current flows silently, swallowing any trace, yet the echoes of these encounters seem to linger in the minds of those who witness them. The river becomes more than a body of water. It is a force that holds memory, presence, and mystery in its depths. Visitors often describe a sensation of footsteps following them, soft at first, then growing more deliberate as they cross. The sound of boards creaking under invisible weight accompanies these steps, a reminder that they are not alone. Railings move subtly when touched, shifting as though something has passed along the moments before. The bridge seems responsive, aware, almost sentient, reacting to the presence of those who dare to walk its length. Flickering lights are another common phenomenon. Some see lantern-like glows hovering over the water, floating just above the surface. Others witness glimmers along the railings, brief and untraceable, vanishing when approached. These lights are often accompanied by whispers, faint and indistinct, drifting on the wind. Names are called, warnings given, or perhaps invitations extended, though the meaning is never entirely clear. The surrounding landscape contributes to the unsettling atmosphere. Trees along the riverbank stretch tall and skeletal, their bare branches forming jagged silhouettes against the sky. Mist often rises from the water, curling around posts and beams, obscuring vision and distorting shapes. At times, the fog seems almost purposeful, shaping forms that appear to move with intent. The bridge is a conduit between land and river, between the known and the unknown, a place where natural beauty blends seamlessly with supernatural tension. Some travelers report that objects left on the bridge shift overnight. Items move from one side to the other without explanation. Loose branches or personal belongings appear in new positions, as if guided by unseen hands. Reflections in puddles along the planks show shapes that do not belong to anyone standing nearby. The bridge becomes a mirror of the unseen, a stage for events that leave no trace yet remain deeply felt. The legend of Deadman's Crossing extends beyond what can be seen. Stories tell of those who vanished without warning, travelers who stepped onto the span and were never seen again. The river seems to guard these secrets jealously, silent except for the occasional rush of water, the whisper of leaves, or the creak of boards underfoot. Each crossing is an encounter with history, with memory, and with the unseen forces that seem to inhabit this place. Despite the fear it inspires, there is a haunting allure. The mist, the shadows, the cold air, and the flickering lights draw the eye and the mind, compelling visitors to witness what is happening even as they hesitate to step further. Each crossing becomes a test of courage, a journey into an environment where every sense is heightened and the boundary between reality and the supernatural blurs. Travelers leave Deadman's Crossing with more than a memory of a bridge. They carry the feeling of weight behind them, the sense of being watched long after the span is behind, the echo of whispers in the wind, and the unsettling image of figures vanishing beneath the river. The bridge is a place of stories, of echoes, and of moments that defy explanation. Deadman's Crossing endures as a site where the ordinary world intersects with the extraordinary. Every plank, every shadow, and every flicker of light contributes to its mystique. Visitors come and go, but the bridge remains patient and watchful, keeping its secrets. And the presence of the unseen, ensuring that Deadman's Crossing remains one of the most haunting and unforgettable places for those who encounter it. Whispering Waters Bridge stretches across the river like a fragile thread suspended in darkness. By day, it is an ordinary structure, quiet and unremarkable, yet as night falls, the bridge takes on a life of its own. The water below shimmers faintly in the moonlight, reflecting shadows that seem to move, twisting and stretching with a rhythm all their own. Visitors to the bridge often speak of the river itself feeling alive. The current seems to shift and churn with purpose, ripples forming patterns that disappear as quickly as they emerge. Even the gentle lapping of the water against the bridge's supports carries a tone that is almost human, a low murmur that blends with the natural sounds of the night to create an atmosphere both beautiful and unsettling. The whispers begin softly, carried on the breeze that drifts across the river. Names are spoken, sometimes faintly, almost beneath hearing, other times loud enough to make the hairs on the back of the neck rise. Some insistent voices are sorrowful, crying out in longing or warning, while others feel the whispers are personal, as if the bridge knows each visitor intimately. Others feel the whispers are personal, as if the bridge knows each visitor intimately. Those who pause to listen often feel compelled to move forward, drawn by a force they cannot explain. Shadowed figures occasionally appear along the railings, mere silhouettes against the dim light. They move silently, sometimes disappearing when approached, leaving only the echo of steps that were never there. The figures do not threaten. Yet their presence is undeniably unnerving, a reminder that the bridge is a space where ordinary rules of reality seem to falter. Objects sometimes move without contact. A hat might roll along the planks. A lantern sway, though no wind disturbs it. These small, unexplained occurrences intensify the sense that the bridge is not merely a structure, but a conduit for something beyond comprehension. The effect is subtle yet profound, leaving visitors questioning what is real and what is conjured by the mind under the weight of the night. The planks beneath each step groan and shift, and the metal supports hum faintly, resonating with vibrations from the flowing water below. The bridge itself seems to respond to presence, to adjust its very nature in the presence of those who walk its length. Each crossing becomes an experience layered with awareness and tension, where ordinary sensations are heightened and perception is challenged. Fog often rolls in from the river, curling around the arches and railings like a living mist. It swallows shapes and distorts light, turning lamps and reflections into ghostly glimmers that dance just beyond reach. Within this fog, the whispers and cries grow louder, more urgent, as if the river is sharing its memories with anyone willing to listen. Every shadow becomes a possibility, every sound a signal of something unseen moving through the night. The experience is not violent, yet it is overwhelming. Time seems altered on the bridge, a single step stretching into seconds, moments blurring together. Travelers sometimes describe a sensation of being watched from the riverbanks, from the water itself, and even from the fog above. The bridge is alive in a way that transcends explanation, a threshold where the natural and supernatural converge seamlessly. Those who linger too long speak of an increasing awareness of presence, as though the bridge and river are observing them, assessing their courage or curiosity. The water beneath mirrors more than light. It reflects the tension, the unease, the fascination of those who dare to cross. The cries of the unseen mix with the wind and water, forming a chorus that is impossible to locate, impossible to ignore. The wooden railings are worn smooth by decades of touch, yet tonight they feel different. Coldness creeps along them, subtle and sudden, and some claim to feel a tug or a brush of air as though unseen hands reach from a mist. These experiences are fleeting, but leave lasting impressions. A reminder that Whispering Waters Bridge is more than it appears. A place where the boundary between the living and the unknown is perilously thin. Travelers who complete the crossing often report a lingering unease, a sensation that parts of the bridge remain with them even after leaving. The whispers, the cries, and the ghostly shapes are etched into memory, leaving an awareness that the river and bridge continue their watch, even from afar. The bridge is a keeper of stories, a silent witness to those who have come before, and perhaps a guide for those yet to come. At dawn, the bridge returns to quiet normalcy. The river flows gently, the fog lifts, and shadows retreat into their hidden places. Yet the memory of the night, the whispers, and the subtle movements of the unseen linger with those who crossed. Whispering Waters Bridge remains a place of mystery, a place where the ordinary world meets the extraordinary, where curiosity and courage are rewarded with glimpses of a reality few are prepared to understand. Shadalbin Bridge stretches across the river like a sentinel frozen in time. Its wooden planks and rusted railings have endured decades of weather, yet the structure creaks and groans even when the wind is still. The bridge seems to hum with quiet energy, an almost imperceptible vibration that unsettles the mind and quickens the pulse. The river below flows slow and deep, its dark waters reflecting the muted light of the sky. Shapes glide just beneath the surface, moving with deliberate rhythm. The effect is subtle at first, a slight hesitation in the water, then unmistakable, as though the river holds a reflection not only of the physical world, but of something hidden and watchful. Many who venture here describe sensations of being followed. Footsteps echo on the wooden planks, echoing their own. Yet when they glance back, the bridge appears empty. Shadows linger along the rails and in the corners of vision, vanishing when directly observed. The presence is intangible, a weight pressing against perception. giving the unmistakable impression that the crossing itself monitors every movement, every choice. Fog often rolls in from the river, thickening the air and muffling sound. In this haze, the bridge transforms into a space suspended between worlds. Shapes in the water become less distinct, shadows along the rails shift into vague forms, and footsteps seem to circle without origin. The fog enhances the sensation that the bridge is alive, a liminal space where the unknown can brush against those who dare to cross. The wooden planks groan beneath every step, amplifying the solitude of the crossing. Some travelers pause mid-bridge, feeling the vibration in their feet and the weight in the air, as though the river itself is acknowledging their presence. Reflections on the water are distorted and fleeting, glimpses of forms that might be human or something else entirely. These shapes mirror movements above, creating a sense of intimacy and unease, as if the bridge connects two realities that should never meet. Shadow's Bend Bridge is not merely a passage over water. It is a threshold. Travelers often report sudden chills, a sense of breath against the neck, or a subtle tugging at their clothing. There is no physical source, yet the sensations are unmistakable. The presence here is patient, observing rather than aggressive, yet impossible to ignore. Every step becomes a negotiation with the Bridgia S silent rhythms. Each movement measured against the Bridgia S silent rhythms. At night, the bridge transforms further. Moonlight glints off the water, illuminating fleeting shapes that appear and disappear with every ripple. The sounds of the forest beyond are softened, leaving only the creaking of wood, the flow of water, and the occasional whisper of movement along the planks. Explorers describe a feeling of eyes upon them, of currents brushing against the bridge in response to their passage, as though the river and structure itself are sentient, aware of the living crossing their threshold. Travelers who linger near the water edge have reported more startling experiences. Figures rise just beneath the surface, mimicking gestures and movements in real time. A hand lifted may be reflected by a shadow below, a step mirrored by a ripple. The repetition is uncanny, impossible to explain, yet compelling. The interaction is silent, almost ritualistic, a wordless exchange between the observer and the hidden world below. Even during the day, the bridge retains an air of mystery. Sunlight filters through trees, scattering across the planks and water in shifting patterns. Shapes move at the edges of vision, vanishing whenever attention is directed toward them. Travelers report a constant sense of awareness, the subtle impression that the bridge and river remember all who have passed, and that each crossing leaves a trace, no matter how brief. The atmosphere is enhanced by the surrounding landscape. Trees arch over the river, their branches forming dark canopies, filtering light and shadow in ways that seem deliberate. The water moves steadily, yet the reflections and ripples are never quite predictable. Observers feel the Rivera's presence as a companion, a silent force that mirrors their journey, observing, responding, and persisting in a way that is both mesmerizing and unsettling. Shadowbend Bridge challenges perception and patience. Every step across its span is a measured experience, blending the physical with the intangible, shapes in the water, footsteps without source, and the constant awareness of unseen observers create an environment that is immersive and tense. Those who cross it carry the memory of subtle movements, fleeting shadows, and the persistent feeling that they are part of something larger, something enduring and enigmatic. The bridge endures through seasons and storms, its creaks and groans echoing across a river. Travelers leave with the sense that Shadowbend Bridge is more than wood and steel. It is a space where the ordinary blends with the extraordinary, where perception and reality converge, where the unseen watches with quiet patience. Every crossing becomes a journey into mystery, leaving visitors to wonder at the silent presences that accompany them, and the figures beneath the water that mirror their every movement. Foggy Hollow Span stretches across a quiet river, its edges often swallowed by thick layers of mist. At night, the bridge disappears into a sea of fog, leaving travelers with only the faint outline of weather beams to guide their steps. The air is damp and cool, carrying the faint scent of wet earth and river water. Every sound is softened by the fog, creating an eerie stillness that feels alive and watchful. Stepping onto the bridge, the world beyond fades into obscurity. The wooden planks creak underfoot, each movement resonating through the silence. Shadows seem to stretch and shift, bending with the swirling mist as though the bridge itself is breathing. The fog obscures the far ends, making it impossible to see where the structure begins or ends. Those who cross it feel suspended between reality and something just beyond understanding. Figures appear from the mist without warning. Some are fleeting shapes, glimpsed in the corner of the eye. Others are more defined, standing motionless on the planks or along the railings. When approached, they vanish, leaving only a faint disturbance in the fog. Visitors describe a sense of being watched, a presence that lingers just out of reach, and a strange awareness that they are not alone. The experiences are fleeting, yet they leave a lasting impression of unease and fascination. The bridge is old, its beams darkened by years of weather and neglect. Rust has begun to creep along the metal supports, and the wood is worn smooth in places where countless travelers have passed. The atmosphere is thick, charged with a quiet tension that amplifies every footstep and every sound. Whispers are another common experience on foggy hollow span. They seem to come from the river below, carried on the fog itself. They are faint, unintelligible, yet unmistakably human. They rise and fall with the movement of the mist, sometimes seeming close enough to touch, only to drift away into the night. The source is impossible to locate, and yet the effect is undeniable, as if the bridge holds memories of countless travelers, their presence etched into the air. Walking the span at night is a test of both courage and perception. The fog absorbs light, turning the surroundings into a monochrome landscape of gray and black. Shapes loom and vanish, and the sound of the river below blends with the creaking wood and the distant rustle of leaves. It is easy to lose orientation, to feel as though the bridge stretches further than it physically does, or that the mist shifts to guide the traveler deeper into its heart. The experience of foggy hollow span is heightened by the surrounding forest. Branches sway silently, and the occasional snap of twigs echoes unnaturally through the mist. The natural sounds mingle with the whispers, creating a layered tapestry of mystery that blurs the line between the seen and the unseen. Every crossing becomes a journey not just across the bridge, but into a liminal space where perception is tested and imagination is heightened. The bridge has long held a reputation among locals. Tales of figures vanishing into the fog and voices carried by the river persist, and travelers recount experiences that defy explanation. Whether these accounts stem from the mind's response to isolation or something more enigmatic, the effect is the same. Foggy hollow span is a place that lingers in memory, a location that challenges the senses, and invites contemplation of the unknown. Even in daylight, the bridge maintains a quiet allure. The mist may be thinner and the figures less frequent, but the structure retains an air of history and mystery. The river continues to flow silently below, reflecting the muted light and the shadow of the surrounding forest. Every plank, every railing, every rusted support holds the weight of time, and countless crossings, tangible reminders of those who came before, and the lingering presence that may still remain. Crossing foggy hollow span is an experience that engages all the senses. The bridge invites exploration, reflection, and a quiet respect for the mysteries it harbors, a threshold suspended between reality and imagination. In the end, foggy hollow span is more than a river crossing. The figures that appear and vanish, the whispers that float across the water, and the thick, enveloping mist all contribute to an experience that is immersive and unforgettable. It is a place where the boundaries between what is seen and what is sensed blur, leaving visitors with a lasting impression of wonder, mystery, and the quiet power of the unknown. Iron Veil Bridge stretches across a slow, dark river, its iron framework corroded by time and weather. Rust coats the railings, and in the glow of the moonlight, the metal seems almost alive, dripping shadows that cling to the wooden planks beneath. The air carries a chill, heavier than the night should allow, wrapping itself around those who dare to cross. Visitors often describe the sensation of being followed. Footsteps echo beside them, soft at first, then deliberate, pacing in rhythm with their own. Yet when they turn, no one is there. The sounds come from nowhere, yet they are undeniable, as though the bridge itself has become a conduit for the unseen. The riverbank on either side holds its own mysteries. Figures are sometimes glimpsed standing silently among the trees. Unmoving and watching, they vanish if approached, leaving only a ripple in the water or the whisper of the wind through the iron framework. These silhouettes seem patient, almost sentient, observing the crossing in silence, waiting for something that no one can define. Cold drafts sweep across the bridge without warning, making clothing cling and breath cloud in the air. Some visitors feel the brush of a hand along their shoulder, light and fleeting, as if Summonia or some Thingle walks just beside them, unseen yet undeniably present. The sensation lingers, and the mind struggles to reconcile the ordinary with the impossible. The structure itself seems to respond to human presence. Boards creak under minimal weight, and shadows twist and stretch across the surface of the bridge. The iron railings, once a simple safety feature, become ominous, their rusty tendrils casting long, claw-like silhouettes in the moonlight. Every step across Iron Veil Bridge is accompanied by a heightened awareness of sound, movement, and the subtle play of darkness. Whispers drift across the water at times, faint and unintelligible, yet unmistakably directed toward those who listen. The echoes of long-forgotten travelers or warnings from those who have lingered too long. Even those who cross during the day report a sense of unease, a feeling that the bridge remembers and waits, its memory stored in rusted metal and splintered wood. Many have reported objects shifting or disappearing entirely. Small stones, leaves, or personal items left on the planks vanish or appear in new positions, as if guided by invisible hands. Reflections in puddles show shapes that do not belong to anyone standing nearby. The bridge becomes a mirror for the unseen, a space where the ordinary rules of the world no longer fully apply. The surrounding landscape adds to the ominous atmosphere. Mist often drifts across the water, curling around piers and beams, obscuring vision and distorting shapes. Shadows cast by the rusted iron seem to shift independently, forming patterns that disappear the instant they are noticed. Iron Veil Bridge is a place where stories linger. Travelers tell of fleeting glimpses of faces in the fog, figures moving silently across the planks, and the persistent feeling of being watched. Some speak of a pull, an invisible force that urges them forward while simultaneously warning them back. The bridge is not merely a crossing. It is a threshold between the known and the unknown, a location where time and space seem to fold and bend in subtle, disorienting ways. Those who return from the bridge carry more than a memory. They bring a weight of unease, a heightened awareness of the unseen, and the vivid images of figures that may or may not have been real. Iron Veil Bridge lingers in the mind long after the journey, its presence haunting in its persistence. The river flows steadily beneath, dark and indifferent, yet somehow complicit in the stories that rise above its surface. Crossing Iron Veil Bridge becomes an encounter with history, with memory, and with something that defies full understanding. Every step, every creak of wood, every whisper of wind, contributes to an atmosphere thick with tension and curiosity. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle, the fleeting, and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle, the fleeting, and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle, the fleeting, and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle, the fleeting, and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle, the fleeting, and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle, the fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. The bridge is a place that commands attention, compelling visitors to notice the subtle. The fleeting and the inexplicable. Even after the last footsteps have faded, the bridge remains. Rusted and weathered, it endures as a sentinel over the river, keeping its secrets and observing those who pass. The silhouettes on the banks may linger, the whispers may persist, and the cold drafts may continue to sweep across the planks. Iron Veil Bridge is more than a structure. It is a living memory, a haunted passage that invites and unsettles, leaving an indelible impression on all who cross its iron and would under the gaze of moonlight. Black Pine Crossing stretches across the river like a dark ribbon suspended in the night. Its timbered planks are worn smooth by decades of footsteps, yet they seem to absorb the shadows that linger around them. The river beneath runs deep and dark, its waters reflecting nothing but the faint glow of the moon, giving the impression that the abyss flows endlessly below. Visitors often speak of an immediate change in the air as they approach the bridge after dusk. A chill grips the skin, subtle at first, then persistent, as though the night itself is pressing against them. The trees along the riverbank sway in a wind that feels different here, carrying sound that cannot be explained. Whispers of movement that vanish when closely observed. Shadows flit across the bridge, appearing in the corner of vision, yet disappearing when the gaze turns directly. Some insist they are figures, fleeting and distorted, like smoke caught in the night. Others describe shapes that seem to merge with the darkness, moving with intention, yet impossible to approach. The effect is unsettling, leaving travelers feeling watched, guided, or even challenged by unseen forces. The bridge itself seems alive at night. The wood beneath each step groans softly, the iron supports hum faintly, and the wind seems to wrap around the structure with a rhythm that mirrors the current below. Every step taken feels measured, deliberate, as though the bridge responds to the presence of those who walk its span, those who cross alone at night often speak of a sudden disorientation. Time becomes fluid. Moments stretch, and the world feels tilted. Some vanish entirely, stepping onto the bridge and never reaching the far side. There is no trace, no clue, only the lingering sense that the river and the shadows are claimed, them for a purpose. Unknown, the river amplifies the eeriness. Its surface is deceptively still, yet the water moves with subtle rhythm that feels purposeful. Reflections distort shapes, turning ordinary forms into specters, blurring the line between reality and illusion. Occasionally, faint ripples appear without cause, as though the water itself is a consciousness, aware of every footstep above. Fog often rises in the river, thick and curling around the wooden planks. Swallows shapes and distorts the glow of moonlight, creating a world within the bridge that seems separate from everything beyond. Whispers can be heard, soft and indistinct, sometimes calling names, sometimes issuing a warning that is impossible to interpret fully. The railings of the bridge hold their own mysteries. Travelers report sensations of cold brushing against skin, subtle touches that leave no mark yet provoke awareness. Some describe seeing objects move without contact, small items shifting across the planks, rolling or swaying as if carried by invisible hands. These occurrences intensify the sense that Black Pine Crossing is more than a simple passage, that it is a living threshold between the familiar and the unknown. Even the forest surrounding the bridge contributes to the tension. The rustle of leaves, the distant snap of branches, and the occasional call of nocturnal wildlife take on unfamiliar tones in the presence of the bridge. Every sound is amplified, every shadow scrutinized, and the night itself feels attentive, watching the actions of those who dare to cross. Those who survive the crossing speak of lasting unease. The images of shadows, the ripples in the river, and the sensation of being observed remain vivid long after leaving. The bridge etches itself into memory, leaving travelers with the knowledge that the world they walked into is altered, even briefly, by forces beyond comprehension. Despite the dangers, the bridge draws curiosity and courage. Travelers are compelled by its mystery, by the stories of those who vanished, and by the haunting allure of its dark waters. Each crossing is a confrontation with the unknown, a test of perception, and an encounter with a presence that seems as old as the river itself. Even at dawn, when the first light reaches the treetops, the shadows retreat, the fog dissipates, and the river appears ordinary once more. Yet the memory of the night remains, a reminder that Black Pine Crossing is a place where reality thins, where the living brush against the unseen, and where the river guards its secrets with patient persistence. Visitors leave the area changed, carrying with them the echoes of whispers, fleeting shadows, and the knowledge that some things on Black Pine Crossing remain unseen for a reason. The bridge endures, silent and steadfast, a monument to the mysteries of the night, where the river flows dark and deep, and the world beyond is never quite the same after crossing its span. Silent Hollow Bridge spans a narrow, winding river shrouded in mist and shadow. The air is thick with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Trees arch overhead, their branches intertwining to form a dark canopy that filters the sunlight into muted streaks. Travelers approaching the bridge often feel a subtle weight in the air, a sense that the space is different, alive in a way that is both unsettling and compelling. As visitors step onto wooden planks, a chill often sweeps across the spine, sudden and sharp. Some report the sensation of cold hands brushing against their shoulders, fleeting touches that vanish when they turn. The creaking of the bridge underfoot echoes louder than expected, amplifying the stillness around it. Every step is measured, every movement felt with heightened awareness, as if the bridge itself responds to the presence of those who cross it. The river below moves with a deceptive calm. Its surface is dark and reflective, revealing shapes that shift and ripple just beneath the water. Some travelers catch glimpses of figures at the far end of the bridge, pale and indistinct, standing motionless before vanishing the moment they attempt to approach. The effect is hypnotic, drawing attention while denying understanding. Shadows stretch across the planks and water, forming patterns that seem deliberate yet impossible to interpret. Whispers occasionally drift across the river, carried by a light breeze. Travelers often hear voices calling their names, soft and distant, as if emerging from the water itself. The sounds are subtle and fleeting, leaving the listener unsure whether the voice was real or imagined. Yet the experience is powerful, a reminder that the crossing holds secrets beyond ordinary perception, and that the bridge is more than a structure connecting two banks. Fog often envelopes the area, thick and damp, obscuring the far end of the river and bending light into muted shapes. In the mist, visitors see movement out of the corner of their eyes. The fog transforms the bridge into a liminal space, a threshold between the familiar and the unknown, where ordinary rules seem suspended and perception becomes uncertain. The wooden planks of Silent Hollow Bridge respond to every footstep, groaning and creaking as though aware of weight and presence. Travelers often describe a sensation of being followed, footsteps echoing behind them that vanish when investigated. Shadows along the rails shift subtly, stretching and twisting in ways that defy natural explanation. Every crossing becomes a journey, an interaction with a space that is alive, patient, and observant. Even during daylight, the bridge maintains an air of mystery. Sunlight filtering through the canopy above creates dappled patterns across the water, which shimmer and shift with the current. Shapes linger in reflections, mirroring movement above in a way that feels deliberate. Observers notice ripples where no object has disturbed the water, subtle distortions that suggest presence beneath the surface. The trees surrounding the bridge enhance its atmosphere. Their gnarled branches form arches over the path, their shadows stretching across the planks and water. The rustling of leaves and occasional calls of distant birds contrast with the stillness of the crossing, emphasizing the isolation and heightening the sense that something watches from the periphery. Visitors report that lingering near the river evokes a profound sense of time slowing. Minutes can pass unnoticed as the mind becomes attuned to the subtle movements of the fog, shadows, and water. Shapes drift beneath the surface, forms that mimic gestures or mirror positions, creating a sense of intimacy with an unseen presence. The experience is immersive, blending perception and imagination in a way that leaves a lasting impression long after leaving the bridge. Leaving the bridge, the visitor is left with a haunting sense of time's passage. Silent Hollow Bridge challenges the boundaries between the visible and the unseen. Figures at the far end, whispers from the water, sudden chills, and fleeting touches all contribute to an atmosphere of quiet tension. The river and fog act as partners in this experience, shaping the perceptions of those who venture onto the bridge and amplifying the sense of mystery that permeates the environment. Even when crossed in daylight, travelers feel a lingering presence, a subtle insistence that the bridge remembers every step, every movement, and every moment of hesitation. Shadows twist in peripheral vision. Water ripples without cause, and the wooden planks creak beneath weight in a way that defies explanation. Each crossing becomes an interaction with the space itself, an encounter with forces both subtle and undeniable. Silent Hollow Bridge endures as a place of quiet power and mystery. Its structure, the river beneath, and the surrounding forest create a cinematic experience that blends natural beauty with the enigmatic. Visitors leave carrying impressions of fleeting figures, whispered names, and the sense of invisible hands brushing close. The bridge is patient, awaiting each new traveler, offering an encounter with the unknown and a moment of connection with the unexplained. The fog continues to roll, the river flows slow and deliberate, and Silent Hollow Bridge stands as a threshold, a crossing point between the ordinary and the unseen, where perception and reality converge, and the mysteries of the water and forest linger patiently for those willing to witness them. Crimson Hollow Bridge stretches across a quiet river, its structure unremarkable in the light of day. Travelers cross it without a second thought, unaware of the strange occurrences that emerge as night falls. The bridge seems to change with the fading light, shifting from a simple passage to a place steeped in mystery and tension. As evening descends, a thin veil of fog rises from the river, curling around the bridge and its supports. Shadows lengthen, merging with the mist to obscure the far ends, leaving travelers with the unsettling impression that the span stretches further than it should. The air cools, carrying the faint scent of damp earth and flowing water. Every sound is amplified in the quiet, from a creak of wood beneath a step to the distant rustle of leaves swaying in the wind. Red lights sometimes appear above the river, hovering with an otherworldly glow. Witnesses describe them as ethereal and distant, casting an unearthly glow across the surface of the water. The lights can vanish without warning, leaving travelers questioning whether they were real or merely a trick of the eyes in the thickening fog. Their presence transforms the bridge, turning it into a threshold between the known and the inexplicable. Figures are occasionally seen walking alongside those who dare to cross at night. Their forms are indistinct in the fog, blending with the shadows and the red glow above the river. When approached, the figures vanish without a trace, leaving only a fleeting impression of presence. Some appear to mimic the traveler's pace, while others seem to linger in place, watching silently. These encounters are brief yet unforgettable, leaving a sense of unease and curiosity that lingers long after leaving the bridge. The bridge itself bears the weight of years and countless crossings. Weathered planks shift underfoot, and steel supports are darkened with age. Each step resonates, echoing into the surrounding forest and river valley. The mist amplifies these sounds, turning ordinary movements into a symphony of subtle creaks and groans. The environment seems alive, responding to the presence of those who venture across, heightening the tension and sense of anticipation. Nightfall brings a transformation to the surrounding forest. Trees stand tall along the riverbanks, their branches twisting and swaying in the wind. Shadows cast by the faint red glow merge with the fog, creating shifting forms that seem almost animate. Every movement in the mist is magnified, every sound distorted, making it difficult to separate reality from imagination. Travelers often report a sensation of being observed, an awareness that something unseen follows just beyond the edge of perception. The river below reflects the red lights, creating a shimmering path that stretches into the darkness. Ripples disturb the reflection, sometimes revealing shapes that vanish the moment they are noticed. The interplay of light and mist creates a dreamlike atmosphere, where familiar is transformed into the extraordinary. The environment encourages reflection and caution, urging travelers to move deliberately and remain aware of every step, sound, and shadow. Local lore speaks of the bridge as a place where the ordinary and the unexplained converge. Tales of red lights and wandering figures have persisted for generations. Whether these stories are rooted in natural phenomena or something more mysterious, they contribute to the bridge's reputation as a place where the boundaries between the visible and the hidden are blurred. Each crossing of Crimson Hollow Bridge is a unique experience. The fog, the lights, and the fleeting figures combine to create a sense of suspended time and heightened awareness. Travelers often describe a mix of awe and unease, a recognition that the bridge is more than a simple structure. It is a space where perception is tested, where history and mystery intertwine, and where every footstep is measured against the shifting presence around them. Even as dawn approaches and the fog lifts, the bridge retains a sense of quiet vigilance. The red lights fade with the rising sun, and the figures disappear into memory. Yet the bridge continues to hold the echoes of the night. It remains a passage between worlds, a place where the natural and the inexplicable coexist in delicate balance. The memory of its nighttime phenomena lingers in the mind, a reminder that some places carry stories that cannot be fully explained. Crimson Hollow Bridge is not merely a crossing over a river. It is a journey into the unknown, a place where light, shadow, and mist converge to create an experience that challenges perception and invites contemplation. The red lights, the whispering fog, and the fleeting figures make each crossing unforgettable, leaving travelers with a sense of wonder, mystery, and respect for the secrets that lie hidden in the darkness. It is a bridge that endures in memory, a silent witness to the interplay of the seen and the unseen, a threshold to the extraordinary that exists just beyond the edge of light. Mist Veil Crossing stretches across a narrow river, shrouded in fog that obscures the far side. The wooden planks glisten with moisture, and the railings are slick beneath the mist. A heavy silence hangs over the scene, broken only by the soft lapping of water against the pilings. The fog swallows the horizon, making the end of the bridge seem distant, almost unreal. Visitors often describe an eerie sensation as soon as they step onto the crossing. A cold air clings to the skin, carrying whispers that seem afloat from nowhere. Footsteps echo faintly behind them, matching their own pace. Yet when they turn, the mist reveals nothing. The fog seems alive, moving with subtle purpose, wrapping the bridge in a cloak of uncertainty. Shadows appear along the planks, stretching and twisting with an unnatural fluidity. They seem to follow every step, remaining just at the edge of vision. When approached, they dissipate, leaving only the lingering sense of being observed. Each movement on the bridge feels amplified, every creak of the wood resonating in the quiet, as though the crossing itself reacts to those who traverse it. The structure of the bridge adds to the unease. Gaps between the planks reveal the dark water below, its surface broken by occasional ripples that appear without cause. Rust coats the iron supports, giving them a reddish hue in the dim light. The combination of fog and decay creates an environment where reality and imagination blur, and each step feels like a venture deeper into the unknown. Some visitors report hearing whispers that carry names long forgotten. They speak too softly to understand, yet the tone is unmistakable, familiar, and unsettling. Footsteps move along the bridge behind them, rising and falling in rhythm with their own. The sensation of someone following, though no one is present, becomes a heavy weight on the mind, intensifying with every step toward the other side. The surrounding environment reinforces the mystery. Reflections shimmer in puddles on the planks, showing images that belong to no one present. Visitors have reported objects shifting without explanation. Small items left on the planks may disappear entirely or reappear in a different location. Leaves stir as if caught in a breeze that does not exist. Every detail becomes amplified under the influence of the mist, creating an environment where perception is constantly challenged. The bridge is not merely a crossing, but a space where ordinary rules feel suspended. Some recount glimpses of figures in the fog, fleeting shapes that vanish when focused upon. The silhouettes seem patient, almost sentient, observing those who pass. The fog hides details, but does not erase presence. A fleeting shadow, the rustle of clothing, or the subtle reflection in water becomes enough to unsettle even the most composed visitor. The experience of crossing Mist Veil is both physical and psychological. Each step carries a growing awareness of surroundings, a heightened sensitivity to sound and movement. Footsteps, whispers, shadows, and cold drafts combine to create an environment that feels alive, aware, and strangely sentient. The bridge demands attention and respect, compelling those who cross to notice the subtle, the fleeting, and the inexplicable. Even after leaving the bridge, the memory lingers. The fog, the shadows, and the whispers persist in the mind, coloring recollections of the crossing. Mist Veil Crossing becomes more than a place. It is an encounter, a moment suspended between the known and the unknown. Visitors often describe a sense of unease that follows them long after they step onto solid ground again. The river beneath continues its silent flow, indifferent to the events above. Trees sway gently, their branches brushing against one another as the fog shifts. The bridge endures, rusted and weathered, a sentinel over the water and the mysteries it holds. Shadows continue to play along the planks in imagination and memory. Whispers echo in thought, and the atmosphere of the crossing remains potent. Mist Veil Crossing is a journey into uncertainty, where perception is tested, where the familiar becomes strange. Each step taken, each shadow glimpsed, and each whisper heard contributes to a narrative of quiet unease. The bridge, enveloped in fog and mystery, offers a haunting experience that lingers in the mind, a testament to the power of place and the stories that dwell within it. Every crossing is unique, yet every experience shares common threads. The fog conceals and reveals, shadows follow and vanish, whispers tease and unsettle. Mist Vale Crossing stands as a threshold, a space where ordinary senses are challenged and the unknown presses close. It is a place that captivates, frightens, and leaves an impression that endures far beyond the moment of passage. Those who approach the bridge are warned not by signs, but by atmosphere, by the subtle cues that something is not as it seems. The crossing is a reminder of the power of the unseen, of the tension between what is visible and what lurks just beyond perception. Mist Vale Crossing continues to draw the curious, the brave, and the unsettled, each visitor adding to its enduring story of whispers, shadows, and mist. Hollow River Bridge stretches across the water like a narrow path, suspended in shadow. Tall trees rise on either side, their branches intertwining to obscure the sky, allowing only slivers of moonlight to reach the wooden planks below. The canopy above shifts with the wind, casting patterns that seem almost alive, and the river beneath reflects only fragments of light, hiding the depths from view. Visitors who approach the bridge after dark often speak of an immediate change in the air. The temperature drops, a damp chill that seeps into skin and bone. The sound of the forest becomes sharper, each rustle of leaves or snapping twig magnified in the quiet night. The air feels charged, as though the bridge itself is aware of their presence, observing each step with patience and intent. Some report unseen hands brushing against their arms, light touches that vanish the instant they turn to see. There is no explanation, no visible cause, yet the sensation is undeniable. The brushes are fleeting, subtle, yet they leave an impression, a whisper of a presence that seems to move just beyond perception. Ghostly figures sometimes appear along the railings. They are faint at first, almost dissolving into the mist that rises from the river below. Their outlines shimmer and fade, sometimes revealing details like the tilt of head or the drift of clothing caught in an unseen breeze. They do not move quickly, nor do they approach. Instead, they stand silently, as if waiting or watching, their gaze impossible to discern but profoundly felt. The wooden planks groan beneath each step, the sound amplified by the stillness around. Shadows twist and stretch across the bridge, bending in ways that defy logic, and the mist curls along the edges, drifting in and out of sight. The atmosphere is thick with tension and curiosity, a sense that the ordinary rules of time and space do not fully apply here. The river itself contributes to the mystery. Its surface is deceptively calm, yet currents pull beneath, creating subtle ripples that catch moonlight in shifting patterns. Occasionally, shapes appear to move within the water, dark and undefined, disappearing when stared at directly. The reflections on the surface distort reality, giving the illusion of additional figures, making it difficult to distinguish between what is real and what is conjured by the night. Fog often rolls in from the river, enveloping the bridge in a soft, damp haze. Sounds echo strangely, distant whispers reach the ears, and shapes can appear and vanish in an instant. Travelers speak of a surreal sensation, as if the bridge exists in a space slightly removed from a natural world, a threshold between the ordinary and the unseen. Even the railings seem to hold secrets. Travelers describe the sensation of subtle pressure, a cold touch or a fleeting weight where nothing is visible. Sometimes objects move without contact, shifting slightly as if nudged by invisible hands. These small phenomena reinforce the feeling that Hollow River Bridge is more than a simple crossing. It is a place alive with memory, presence, and unseen attention. The forest surrounding the bridge adds to the atmosphere. Leaves rustle in ways that feel purposeful. Shadows move against the darkness. And even the distant call of nocturnal animals seems altered, carrying tones that resonate with the river and the bridge. Every step taken across the planks is measured, deliberate, because the bridge demands awareness and respect from those who traverse it. Travelers who linger too long speak of disorientation. Time feels warped, with moments stretching and bending, as though the bridge itself controls the perception of those who walk its span. Some report feelings of being observed from a mist, from the shadows, and even from the water below. There is no aggression, only the sense of attentive presence, watching, waiting, and silently recording. Even when dawn breaks and the fog lifts, the memory of the bridge remains vivid. The river flows quietly, the forest returns to normal, and the shadows retreat into the corners of the day. Yet those who cross the bridge at night carry with them the experience of being touched, watched, and observed by unseen forces. Hollow River Bridge leaves a lasting impression, a sense that beneath its wooden planks and over the dark river, mysteries endure that are meant to be felt rather than understood. The bridge continues to draw the curious and the brave, those willing to test their courage and explore the unknown. Each crossing is a journey into the unknown, a brush with what cannot be fully explained, and an encounter with a presence that feels both ancient and patient. The river beneath, the mist that rises, and the shadows along the railings combine to create an experience that lingers long after the last step is taken. Hollow River Bridge is more than a passage over water. It is a threshold, a place where the living meet the unseen, where the ordinary becomes extraordinary, and where memories of the night continue to ripple through time. Every step across, it is a step into a story that the river and the mist have been telling for generations, a story that remains unfinished, waiting for those who dare to walk its span. Shadow Pine's span stretches across a dark, winding river, its wooden planks weathered by years of wind and rain. The surrounding forest presses close, pine trees forming a dense canopy that filters the light, casting elongated shadows across the water. The air is cool and heavy with the scent of wet wood and earth, carrying a quiet stillness that feels almost alive. Travelers who approach the bridge often sense a subtle shift in the atmosphere, a tension that grows with each step onto the span. The river below reflects lights that seem unnatural, flickering and wavering in colors that the mind struggles to name. They dance across the surface as if moving independently, revealing shapes and ripples that should not exist. Some travelers describe a reflection of figures in the water, faint outlines that mirror movements above the bridge yet vanish when observed directly. The effect is disorienting, a distortion perception that blurs the line between reality and something hidden beneath the surface. As night falls, shadows gather along the rails and edges of the bridge. Figures appear at the far end, pale and indistinct, standing motionless or shifting slowly, only to vanish when attention is focused on them. The effect is subtle but profound, a fleeting presence that hints at consciousness and awareness. Every crossing becomes a careful negotiation, each step taken with heightened attention, as the bridge seems to watch and respond to those who traverse it. Whispers echo through the night air, carried by a gentle breeze that rustles the pine needles above. The sounds are soft and elusive, words just beyond comprehension, drifting across the water and the planks of the bridge. Travelers often feel that the whispers are personal, that the space itself calls to them, drawing attention to the edges of perception and encouraging curiosity tempered by caution. The voices are never threatening, yet they are compelling, adding to the sense that the bridge is more than a structurea, it is a presence in its own right. The wooden planks groan beneath every footstep, amplifying the quiet tension of the crossing. Travelers report feeling invisible presences alongside them, a subtle pressure or brush against the skin that disappears when investigated. Shadows along the rails flicker in peripheral vision, stretching and contorting with a life of their own. Each crossing becomes immersive, a dialogue between the observer and the environment, a test of attention and awareness in a space that resists ordinary perception. Fog often drifts across the bridge, curling along the river and around the trees. In the haze, the lights reflected in the water appear more vivid, shapes along the edges of the span more distinct yet fleeting. Figures move at the limits of vision, just beyond the center of focus, vanishing if looked at directly. The fog enhances a sense of liminality, transforming the bridge into a threshold between the known and unknown, a place where reality feels malleable and every movement is observed. Every movement is observed. At times, the river itself seems to respond to those on the bridge. Ripples appear without wind. Disturbances in the water mimic gestures above, and faint shapes drift just beneath the surface. Observers report an uncanny sense of connection, a feeling that the bridge and river mirror their presence, acknowledging each movement while remaining untouchable and enigmatic. The interplay between water, light, and shadow creates immersive and tense, drawing travelers into a rhythm. The trees surrounding Shadowpine Span enhance its atmosphere. Their trunks and branches form natural corridors that filter light and shadow in intricate patterns. The rustle of leaves contrasts with the persistent stillness of the river, and the combination of sound, shadow, and light creates a continuous engagement with the environment. Travelers often report a slowing of time while on the bridge. Minutes pass unnoticed as the mind attunes to subtle movements, shifting shadows, and the play of light on the water. Figures in the distance, whispers drifting across the air, and ripples in the river combine to create a multisensory experience. The crossing becomes a dialogue between observer and environment, a test of perception, patience, and curiosity. Even in daylight, Shadowpine Span retains its enigmatic character. Sunlight filtering through the pines casts shifting reflections across the water, and shapes appear at the edges of vision, moving in ways that challenge understanding. The bridge is more than wood and nails. It is a space that holds memory, presence, and the subtle weight of unobserved phenomena. Encounters here leave lasting impressions. Shapes appear and vanish at the edges. Lights flicker unnaturally, and whispers linger in the mind. Long after travelers have left, the bridge seems to measure attention, curiosity, and caution, rewarding awareness with fleeting glimpses of the unseen. Every crossing feels personal, a passage through a space that is alive with history, presence, and the quiet tension of mystery. Shadowpine Span endures as a place of intrigue and quiet power. Its wooden structure, the river, and surrounding forest combine to create an immersive, cinematic experience. Travelers leave carrying impressions of reflected lights, fleeting figures, and whispers that echo in memory. The bridge waits patiently, inviting each new visitor to step onto its span, to witness the subtle interplay of water, shadow, and presence, and to encounter the unseen forces that linger quietly beneath and around the crossing. The river flows steady and deep. The lights shimmer in impossible patterns, and the whispers drift endlessly across the bridge. Shadowpine Span remains a threshold, a liminal space where perception and reality intersect, and where the mysteries of water, forest, and shadow await those willing to notice them. Deadwater Crossing spans a river that winds through a dense, shadowed valley. By day, it appears unremarkable, a simple path connecting two banks, its weathered planks and rusted railings showing the marks of years of use. Yet there is a sense of unease that clings to the water, a quiet tension that becomes palpable as the light fades and the air grows heavy with mist. Travelers often report an unusual sensation, as if the river itself is aware of their presence, tugging gently at their feet and urging caution. Crossing Deadwater is unlike traversing any ordinary bridge. The water below moves silently, deceptively calm, yet it seems to respond to those who step upon the planks. Some describe a strange pull, subtle at first, growing stronger as they advance. It is not the current of the river that threatens, but an unseen force, a weight in the air. The river seems to hold its breath, observing every movement and every hesitation. Visitors often speak of figures emerging from the water. Shadows rise and fall along the surface, sometimes resembling human forms. They reach toward travelers, arms extended in silent appeal or warning, vanishing the moment one focuses directly on them. The effect is fleeting but profound, leaving a sense of presence that cannot be easily dismissed. These apparitions are neither threatening nor benign. They exist in a space that challenges understanding and invites contemplation. The bridge itself is narrow and worn, with wooden planks that shift underfoot. Rusted supports creak softly with the weight of travelers, each sound amplified by the quiet of the surrounding valley. Mist often rises from the river, curling around the rails and weaving through the gaps in the wood. Visibility is reduced, leaving the mind to fill in what cannot be seen, turning ordinary shapes into something more ambiguous and unsettling. Every crossing becomes an exercise in attention and awareness, a test of the senses heightened by the environment. At night, Deadwater Crossing transforms entirely. Moonlight struggles through the mist, casting a silvery glow across the river that is both beautiful and eerie. Shadows lengthen and twist, moving with the subtle rhythm of the water. Figures become more frequent, glimpsed along the surface or standing silently in the shallow areas near the banks. Some appear to follow travelers, while others seem to drift independently, their forms ambiguous and shifting. The river carries a deep, almost hypnotic quality. Its dark water mirrors the sky above and surrounding trees, creating an endless reflection. The mist thickens along the banks, amplifying every sound and muffling every movement. Each step feels deliberate, each breath drawn carefully, as the environment demands full awareness and presence. Stories surrounding Deadwater Crossing are numerous. Locals recount travelers who have vanished after crossing, leaving no trace except faint footprints that disappear near the riverbank. Others speak of figures that reach from the water, some seen only fleetingly, others remembered vividly for years. These tales contribute to the Bridges' reputation as a place of both natural beauty and unexplainable mystery. Whether rooted in imagination or something beyond perception, the experiences of those who cross it cannot be ignored. The crossing itself can feel like a threshold between worlds. The combination of mist, shadows, and subtle movement in the water creates an atmosphere that challenges perception and heightens awareness. Figures in the river, the tug of the water at travelers' feet, and the quiet creak of the planks all blend into a singular experience that is immersive and unforgettable. Each journey across Deadwater is unique, shaped by the interplay of natural elements and the subtle, unexplained phenomena that linger along the path. Even in daylight, the river maintains its enigmatic quality. Reflections shimmer on the water, and the mist occasionally drifts in soft waves across the bridge. Shadows seem to move with the currents, hinting at the presence of those who might not be entirely of this world. The bridge endures as a place where nature and mystery coexist, a space where travelers can feel both awe and unease, and where the river continues to guard its secrets silently. Deadwater Crossing is more than a path over a river. It is an experience of perception, history, and lingering mystery. The pull of the water, the figures that rise and vanish, and the quiet whispers of the mist all combine to create an environment that captivates and unsettles. Each crossing leaves an impression, a memory of a place where the ordinary and the unexplained intersect, and where the river, the fog, and the bridge hold stories that cannot be fully understood but are impossible to forget. The bridge and the river beneath it endure as witnesses to countless crossings, each traveler leaving an echo in the atmosphere. Deadwater Crossing invites exploration, reflection, and an appreciation for the subtle and the mysterious. It is a threshold suspended between the seen and the unseen, a place where every step is measured, every sound is amplified, and every crossing becomes a journey into the unknown. Whisper Pine Bridge stretches across a slow-moving river, its wooden planks weathered and worn. Moss clings to the beams, and the faint scent of pine drifts through the air. The surrounding forest presses close, branches brushing over the water, creating a canopy that casts long shadows across the bridge. At times, the river below seems to glow in otherworldly light, reflecting shapes that do not belong to any tree or rock. Travelers often describe a strange heaviness upon approaching the bridge, a subtle tension in the air that seems to grow with each step. The quiet is deceptive, for beneath the stillness, the sound of footsteps sometimes echoes beside them, pacing in rhythm yet leaving no one in sight. Voices murmur softly in the distance, carried on the wind, calling names that are unfamiliar yet oddly familiar in tone. Shadows cling to the edges of vision, fleeting and insistent. They move independently, seeming to observe each movement and shift in posture. When looked at directly, the figures vanish, leaving only the lingering sense of presence. The bridge itself creaks and groans underfoot, as though reacting to unseen observers, and the river below reflects subtle ripples that appear without a breeze. The structure of Whisper Pine Bridge adds to the unease. Planks sag in places, and the railings are uneven. Coated in years of weather and neglect. The mist rising from the water below twists around the supports, forming shapes that hint at life but never fully reveal it. Light filtering through the forest can create illusions, and yet, even in full daylight, travelers report the feeling of being watched, a sensation that clings to skin and shadow alike. Some visitors describe seeing figures standing silently on the riverbank, their forms indistinct in the gloom. They do not move, do not speak, yet their gaze seems fixed on those crossing the bridge. Each movement is tracked, each pause noted. It is not malevolent, yet the awareness of being observed stirs a deep unease. The figures disappear when approached, as if the mist itself absorbs them, leaving only whispers in the ears of the traveler. The river beneath seems almost alive. Its surface shimmers with faint lights at night, small glimmers that shift and dance like fireflies. Reflections in the water sometimes show shapes that do not belong to anything visible on the bridge or in the surrounding forest. These glimpses vanish as quickly as they appear, leaving only questions and a lingering sensation of the unknown. Footsteps continue to echo along the planks, and the whispers grow more persistent as night deepens. Some report that the voices repeat phrases, soft murmurs of conversation that cannot be traced to any source. The air grows colder, heavier, as if the river and forest conspire to slow the pace of the crossing. Travelers often quicken their steps, feeling unseen hands brush along their shoulders or back, fleeting touches that vanish when turned toward. The atmosphere of Whisper Pine Bridge is heightened by the isolation of its surroundings. The forest encroaches from both sides, and the nearest signs of civilization lie miles away. Sounds carry differently here, bending and twisting in the mist. Every rustle of leaves, every creak of wood, every ripple in the river becomes amplified in perception, as if the bridge itself encourages heightened awareness and careful attention. Even simple objects take on an unfamiliar quality. Small rocks, leaves, or twigs may shift without explanation, and reflections in puddles on a bridge sometimes show more than the traveler expects. Light refracts strangely through the mist, creating fleeting glimpses of movement that vanish when studied. The bridge exists in a space where reality is fluid and ordinary expectations no longer apply. Many describe the crossing as both physical and psychological. Each step carries a growing tension, a sense that the bridge observes and responds. Shadows dance at the corners of vision, whispers flow from unseen mouths, and the glowing river below mirrors shapes that defy understanding. The experience leaves travelers on edge, alert to every nuance, every subtle change in light or sound. The bridge maintains its haunting even after it has been crossed. The memory of whispers, shadows, and the Rivera's strange glow lingers, coloring recollections with unease and fascination. Whisper Pine Bridge becomes more than a location. It is a liminal space, a threshold where ordinary perception is tested and where the unknown presses close. Each journey across the bridge is unique, yet common elements remain. Figures appear and vanish. Footsteps echo, whispers call. And the mist and river combine to create an environment charged with tension. Travelers often speak of a lingering presence, a sense of being observed long after leaving the bridge. Whisper Pine Bridge stands as a testament to the power of place memory and perception. Its wooden planks, the surrounding forest, and the glowing river beneath conspire to create an atmosphere that is both mysterious and immersive. The crossing challenges the senses, leaving a mark that is subtle yet unforgettable, a reminder of the delicate boundary between the seen and the unseen. Those who approach the bridge are met with more than crossing. They encounter a space alive with history, shadow, and quiet observation. The whispers, the shadows, and the faint glow of the river create an experience that lingers, inviting travelers to question what is real and what exists only at the edge of perception. Whisper Pine Bridge endures as a haunting threshold, a place where every crossing becomes a story, and every traveler carries a piece of its mystery with them. Iron Hollow Bridge stretches across the dark waters like a sentinel of the night. Its steel and timber frame creaks underfoot even when empty, the sound echoing over the river below. Shadows gather along its length, bending with the faint moonlight and the mist that often drifts up from the water, creating an atmosphere that feels both alive and watchful. Visitors who approach after dusk often notice a sudden chill in the air. Cold drafts sweep along the span, brushing against skin with an almost deliberate touch. The wind carries faint whispers, soft and indistinct, as though the bridge itself is speaking in a language just beyond understanding. Every step taken becomes more deliberate, measured, because the environment insists on attention. Figures appear at the far end of the bridge. They are faint and indistinct at first, forms that emerge in the darkness like smoke. Standing silently along the railings or just beyond the mist, they remain motionless, observing the crossing. As one approaches, the figures vanish without a trace, leaving only the echo of their presence behind. The experience is disorienting, leaving travelers unsure if they have witnessed something real or imagined. The wooden planks beneath each step shift slightly, groaning and flexing, as if responding to the weight of unseen eyes. The iron supports hum faintly in the night, resonating with the sound of the river below. Every movement on the bridge is amplified, shadows stretching and twisting with each footstep. The space feels alive, a living corridor suspended above water that refuses to be taken lightly. Visitors often describe an eerie sensation of being watched. The cold drafts and whispers intensify this feeling, as if unseen entities are accompanying each step, maintaining a silent vigil. The farther one walks, the stronger the impression becomes that the bridge itself is conscious, attuned to the movements of anyone daring to cross. Fog often rises from the river, curling along the sides of the bridge, drifting through the railings, and enveloping the far end in an impenetrable haze. Within this mist, shapes and sound are distorted. The fog enhances the sense of isolation, turning the crossing into an encounter with the unknown. Even the railings hold subtle signs of life. Travelers report cold brushes along their arms or hands as they touch the wood. Objects sometimes move without contact, sliding or tipping slightly as if nudged by invisible hands. These occurrences, small but persistent, reinforce the feeling that Iron Hollow Bridge is more than a simple crossing. It is a threshold where ordinary rules do not fully apply. The river below adds to the unsettling atmosphere. Reflections of the bridge, the fog, and the figures above shimmer and distort, creating an effect that makes it difficult to distinguish reality from illusion. Sometimes shapes appear to move beneath the surface, then vanish before they can be fully seen. Even sounds from the surrounding forest take on a different character. The rustle of leaves, distant calls of nocturnal creatures, and the snapping of twigs are amplified and altered in ways that heighten awareness. Every sound feels purposeful, as though the environment itself is participating in the narrative of the bridge, guiding and influencing the experience of those who cross. Those who complete the crossing often report a lingering sense of unease. The memory of shadows, the whispers, and the cold drafts remain long after leaving. The bridge impresses itself upon the mind, a place where the ordinary world fades and the unknown asserts its presence. Each crossing becomes a story carried forward, a brush with forces that are present yet elusive. Iron Hollow Bridge is not violent, yet it commands respect, because the bridge demands awareness, where the familiar becomes strange, and where the river and mist conspire to challenge perception. By dawn, the bridge appears ordinary once more. The fog dissipates, the shadows retreat, and the whispers fade into silence. Yet for those who walked its length during the night, the impressions remain vivid, a reminder that Iron Hollow Bridge is a place where the boundary between the known and unknown is delicate, and the night holds its secrets patiently. The bridge continues to draw travelers, those who seek mystery and the unexplained. Each crossing is an encounter, a journey into a space where shadows linger, whispers echo, and the river beneath carries stories older than anyone can imagine. Iron Hollow Bridge stands as a testament to the unseen, a place where reality and the unknown intersect in quiet, haunting harmony. Blackwater Hollow Bridge lies deep within a dense forest, where towering trees stretch overhead, their branches weaving together to form a dark canopy. The air is thick and humid, carrying the scent of damp earth, moss, and decaying leaves. Sunlight filters sparingly through the foliage, casting shifting patterns across the worn wooden planks of the bridge. Travelers approaching often sense an invisible weight, a tension in the air that grows with every step onto the span. The river beneath flows dark and slow, its surface reflecting fleeting lights that seem impossible to explain. Some appear as small flickers, dancing across the water in patterns that defy wind or current. Others are larger, shifting in intensity, hinting at shapes moving just beneath the surface. Observers report the water mirroring their movements at times, creating a strange, disorienting connection between those on the bridge and the hidden world below. Visitors often describe sudden chills, a cold sweeping over the body that comes without warning. Some feel hands brush against their shoulders or the nape of their necks, fleeting touches that vanish when attention is given. The wooden planks beneath feet groan under weight, though sometimes the bridge feels lighter than it should, as if supported more than just a physical traveler. Every sound is amplified in the stillness of the forest of the ripple of water, the rustle of leaves, and the faint echo of footsteps that are not one's own. Shadowy forms are frequently seen along the edges of the bridge. These figures appear at a distance, dim and indistinct, moving just beyond the center of vision. When observers attempt to focus directly, they vanish, leaving only the whisper of movement and the quiet tension of the crossing. The forest itself seems to bend and shift subtly, branches swaying though no wind is present, shadows stretching unnaturally along the planks and water. At night, the atmosphere intensifies. The lights reflected in the water become more pronounced, glowing faintly against the darkness. Ripples appear without cause, and shapes beneath the surface move with deliberate rhythm. Some travelers report seeing fleeting humanoid figures gliding through the shadows, their forms distorted by fog and the movement of water. Whispers drift across the hollow, carried on the slight breeze, soft but unmistakable, seeming to call toward those who linger too long. The bridge itself creaks with an eerie regularity, echoing across the hollow as though resonating with some unseen presence. Travelers often feel as though they are being watched, the weight of unseen eyes tracking their every movement. Every step becomes a conscious act, measured and deliberate, with a heightened awareness of surroundings. Even small disturbances in the air, a falling leaf or a ripple in the water, take on significance, reinforcing the sense that Blackwater Hollow is alive with observation. Fog often drifts through the forest, curling along the river and weaving between trees. In this haze, lights on the water appear more vivid, shadows take on unfamiliar shapes, and sounds are amplified. Figures are glimpsed at the periphery, standing at the far edges of the bridge or along the riverbank, only to vanish when looked at directly. The fog transforms the crossing into a liminal space, suspended between the ordinary world and something hidden and enduring. Travelers recount the experience of time stretching in the hollow. Minutes can pass unnoticed as perception focuses on subtle shifts of the movement of water, a flicker of light, the ripple of shadow across the planks. The bridge becomes a threshold where ordinary understanding is challenged, and every observation carries weight. Shapes beneath the water, lights along the edges, and the constant hum of unseen presence create an atmosphere that is immersive and inescapable. Even during daylight, the hollow retains its enigmatic qualities. Sunlight filtering through dense foliage creates shifting patterns on the planks and water. Reflections reveal forms and movements that seem out of place, shadows stretching and bending with the current. Shadows stretch and bending with the current. The forest maintains an ever-present sense of intimacy, a quiet reminder that the hollow holds memory, attention, and perhaps an unspoken intent. Some visitors never leave unchanged. There are accounts of travelers disappearing completely, leaving no trace beyond the slight disturbance in the planks and ripples in the water. Others report lingering sensations for days afterward. The weight of unseen hands, fleeting shadows in peripheral vision, or faint lights that appear and disappear in familiar rivers or streams. The hollow leaves impressions as tangible as they are inexplicable. a testament to the persistent enigma of the bridge and river below. Blackwater Hollow Bridge endures as a place of quiet power and mystery. Its wooden planks, the dark river, and surrounding forests create a cinematic, immersive experience. The subtle interplay of lights, shadows, whispers, and movement engages every sense, drawing travelers into a rhythm that feels both ancient and alive. Every crossing becomes a dialogue with the space itself, a measured journey through an environment that is as much presence as it is place. The river flows slow and deep, shadows twist along the edges, and the lights shimmer in ways that defy explanation. Blackwater Hollow remains patient, awaiting each new traveler, offering glimpses of the unseen and challenging perception with every step. The bridge stands as a threshold, a space where ordinary reality meets something hidden, and where the forest and river guard their secrets with quiet vigilance, offering encounters that linger long after the hollow is left behind. Silent Pines Crossing stretches across a quiet river, enveloped by a dense forest that seems to hold its breath. The dense forest that seems to hold its breath. Fog often rolls over the water in the bridge, curling around the supports and drifting across the planks. The air is cool and damp, carrying the scent of earth and pine. Each step onto the bridge feels like stepping into a place suspended between worlds. The wooden planks creak underfoot, each sound magnified by the stillness of the surrounding forest. Shadows stretch and twist in the mist, merging with the fog to create shapes that seem to move with purpose. Travelers often report fleeting figures, appearing and disappearing along the length of the bridge. Some stand motionless, observing silently, while others seem to mimic the movement of those crossing, reflecting each step in perfect imitation before fading into the mist. Whispers are common on Silent Pines Crossing, drifting across the river and along the planks. Drifting across the river and along the planks. They call names and beckon travelers forward, soft at first, then growing clearer with proximity. They call names and beckon travelers forward, soft at first, then growing clearer with proximity. The voices are neither threatening nor friendly, but they evoke a profound sense of being watched and followed. The voices are neither threatening nor friendly, but they evoke a profound sense of being watched and followed. Those who hear them often describe a feeling of hesitation, the urge to pause and consider what lies ahead, balanced by an irresistible pull toward the far side of the bridge. Those who hear them often describe a feeling of hesitation, the urge to pause and consider what lies ahead, balanced by an irresistible pull toward the far side of the bridge. The bridge itself is aged, worn smooth by countless crossings. Rusted metal supports rise from the river, their surfaces darkened by years of weather and neglect. The wood beneath travelers' feet is weathered, yet holds strong, a reminder of the structure's enduring presence. Each step feels deliberate, each sound amplified, an environment tests perception, urging those who cross to remain alert. As night falls, Silent Pines Crossing becomes a place of heightened tension. Moonlight barely penetrates the fog, casting an ethereal glow across the water and the bridge. Figures become more distinct, yet still elusive, rising from the mist only to vanish when approached. The forest surrounding the river sways silently, branches brushing against one another, adding subtle movement to the scene. The interplay of light, shadow, and fog transforms the bridge into a threshold, a boundary between the familiar and the unknown. Travelers often describe a sensation of being followed, the shadows reflecting movements in a way that feels intentional. A shift in posture, a pause in stride, or a sudden glance backward can reveal shapes that disappear the moment attention is focused on them. The experience blurs a line between reality and what exists only in the mind, leaving visitors questioning what is real and what exists only in the mind. Each step becomes an exercise in awareness, a careful navigation of both the physical bridge and the intangible presence that lingers around it. The river beneath adds to the Bridgia's enigmatic atmosphere. Its surface is smooth and reflective, capturing faint light from the fog and moon above. The sound of water flowing is soft but persistent, mingling with the whispers and the occasional creak of the bridge to create a layered, immersive environment. The river seems almost alive, participating in the phenomena that occur above its surface, and heightening the sense of mystery that surrounds the crossing. Local accounts speak of travelers who have felt compelled to cross repeatedly, drawn by the whispers or the fleeting figures. Some describe a sense of inevitability, the feeling that the bridge itself guides a traveler forward. Others have reported lingering impressions of the shadows and voices long after leaving, as if the crossing leaves an imprint on memory and perception. These experiences contribute to the legend of Silent Pines Crossing, a place where natural beauty and unexplained phenomena coexist in delicate balance. Every crossing is unique, shaped by the fog, the river, and the interplay of light and shadow. Figures appear in different forms, sometimes as indistinct shapes, other times with more defined presence. The whispers vary in tone and clarity, creating an environment that is immersive, unsettling, and compelling. Travelers describe a mixture of awe and caution, recognizing that the bridge holds a quiet power, a capacity to capture attention and stir imagination in ways that few locations can match. Silent Pines Crossing is more than a bridge over a river. It is a space where the natural and the unexplained meet, and where every step becomes a journey into the unknown. The fog, the shadows, and the whispers combine to create an experience that is unforgettable and immersive. Each crossing leaves an impression, a lingering memory of a place, where the world feels altered and the boundary between what is seen and what is sensed is never quite clear. In the end, Silent Pines Crossing endures as a testament to mystery and subtle tension. The fog continues to roll over the river. Figures rise and vanish, and whispers drift across the planks. Travelers leave with stories, memories, and sensations that linger long after they have stepped away. The bridge is a threshold, a quiet reminder that some places hold secrets that are not meant to be fully understood, and that the experience of crossing can be as haunting as it is unforgettable. Final Crossing Bridge stands isolated over a silent river, its wooden planks worn and weathered by decades of storms and neglect. Moss clings to the beams, and the surrounding forest seems to press closer with each passing step, as if the shadows themselves are drawn to the crossing. The air carries a chill that is deeper than the night, and the river below flows quietly, yet it seems to echo voices that no living person has spoken. Travelers approaching the bridge often describe a sensation of tension that grows with every step. The wooden planks creak beneath their feet, each sound magnified in the stillness. Shadows shift at the edges of vision, and the faint glow of lights appears to hover above the surface, moving in patterns that defy explanation. The bridge feels alive, as though it is aware of those who dare to cross, and watches each motion with unseen eyes. Figures are reported standing on the planks, silent and motionless. When approached, they vanish, leaving only the lingering impression of presence. Some travelers hear footsteps following behind, echoing in rhythm with their own, though no one is there. The whispers of those long gone seem to ride the wind, brushing against the ears of the living and weaving stories of the vanished into the night air. The river below reflects the moonlight in strange, shifting patterns. On occasion, shapes appear upon its surface, fleeting glimpses of figures that seem to walk upon water. The reflections vanish when looked at directly, leaving a haunting sense of impermanence and unease. The atmosphere grows heavier as the crossing progresses, each step carrying with a heightened awareness of the unseen and the unknown. The structure of the bridge adds to its unnerving presence. Planks shift slightly underfoot, and gaps in the rails offer glimpses into the dark river below. Mist rises from the water, curling around the supports and creating illusions of movement and depth. Even during the day, visitors report a feeling of being observed, a weight in the air that cannot be explained by wind or sound. Some travelers have seen lights hovering directly above the planks. They move slowly, sometimes hovering, sometimes drifting in erratic paths that defy logic. The lights cast shifting shadows, creating forms that appear to have intent and awareness. Those who pause to watch often feel a cold presence at their shoulders, a sensation of being acknowledged by something beyond comprehension. The bridge's reputation is reinforced by the stories of those who never return. Locals speak in hushed tones of travelers who vanish without trace, leaving behind only echoes of their passage and the faintest traces of footsteps on the planks. Each disappearance adds to the legend, transforming Final Crossing Bridge from a physical structure into a symbol of mystery and fear. The experience of crossing the bridge is as much psychological as it is physical. Every creak of wood, every ripple in the river, and every flicker of light contributes to a growing awareness of the extraordinary. Shadows stretch and bend, whispers rise and fade, and the air grows colder with each movement forward. Visitors feel watched, their senses heightened to every subtle shift in the environment, and their imagination begins to intertwine with reality. The forest closes in on both sides, branches intertwining above and creating a canopy that blocks out the moonlight in patches. Fog drifts along the river, thickening unexpectedly and obscuring both the path and the river below. Every step across the planks is accompanied by heightened tension, a sensation that the crossing itself is a test, and the bridge will not release its travelers lightly. Final Crossing Bridge challenges perception. Even familiar objects take on new forms under its influence. Puddles on the planks reflect shapes that seem to move independently. Trees and mist create illusions of figures at the edge of vision. The river mirrors movements that cannot be explained. A fluid canvas for the inexplicable. Travelers are forced to question the boundary between what is real and what is imagined, and the line between the two grows thinner with each step. The haunting is continuous, stretching beyond the crossing itself. Footsteps, whispers, and glimpses of shadow linger in memory, coloring the traveler's perception long after leaving the bridge. Even the glow of lights in the distance evokes the eerie patterns witnessed on the planks. The experience becomes part of a larger story, one that binds a bridge to the consciousness of those who encounter it. Each crossing is unique yet familiar. Figures appear and vanish. Lights hover and drift. Whispers rise from the darkness, and footsteps echo without source. The river below seems to carry the presence of the departed, reflections of those who walked the bridge before. Final Crossing Bridge exists as more than a structure. It is a liminal space where perception is tested, where the living meet echoes of the past, and where the boundary between the known and the unknown dissolves. Travelers leave with a story etched into memory, a sense of awe and unease that lingers, and the haunting impression that the bridge itself observes and remembers all who dare to walk its planks. Crossing Final Crossing Bridge is not merely a journey. It is an encounter with the inexplicable. Shadows, whispers, lights, and the Rivera-esque reflective surface combine to create an experience that is immersive, haunting, and unforgettable. It endures as a testament to the power of place, memory, and mystery, where every step becomes part of story and every visitor becomes a witness to the unseen. We have now crossed 25 haunted river bridges in Georgia. Each bridge is alive with whispers, shadows, and spirits of those who vanished. The rivers themselves seem to remember every traveler. These bridges are more than crossings. They are gateways into memory, fear, and the unknown. Next time you find yourself near a river at night, remember, the bridges may not be empty. The water may hold more than reflections. And some crossings may never let you leave. Thank you for walking these haunted bridges with me tonight. Stay cautious, stay curious, and may the haunted rivers reveal only the shadows you are ready to face.